Part 24. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 231. At this moment, everyone present was staring at Chen Ang and the person who made the move. Chen Ang, can you stop me? I had taken action before, randomly picking off some martial arts masters, but that guy obviously didn't seem to be his equal. However, there are rumors that Chen Ang's martial arts is so high that it is at least top level. The guards of the forbidden martial hall he led were all masters. So, at this time, the faces of the people present had different expressions. At the same time, countless people in the world looked at what was happening in the picture, and each one of them smiled. Tisk tisk, who is this guy? So arrogant? So arrogant. How dare you take action against Chen Laomo? He, I think this kid wants to be caught and tested. If you dare to take action against Chen Laomo, I think this kid doesn't want to live anymore. Don't you know Chen Laomo's reputation? Now I want to see how this kid dies. How else to die? Not to mention Chen Ang taking action, even Huang Shang next to him could easily kill this guy. At this time, countless people were discussing. Before they could finish the discussion, they saw that a new change had appeared in the picture. The long whip raised by the man was still in the air. The next second, a silver light appeared. Flashing, in an instant, the guy fell directly to the ground, covering his throat, struggling twice, kicking his legs, and stopped moving. At this time, Chen Ang wiped his hands and said lightly, I haven't made a move for a long time. A bit crafty. Yes, he was the one who did it. As fast as a thunderbolt, he killed that guy in just a blink of an eye. It was so easy. He looked at the corpse on the ground and chuckled, those who subjugate their country and exterminate their species, I thought, what about your surname Zhao? He looked at the general's flag again and raised his hand gently. Beside him, Huang Shang nodded. Immediately, with a thought in his mind and a flick of his hand, a silver thread appeared and directly tore off the 857 flag. A smash. Good. Ha ha ha, well done. These Xixia dogs still dare to act arrogantly in the realm of my Han dynasty. I simply don't know how to live or die. Ha ha ha, I have long disliked these Xixia dogs. Do you really think you are invincible? At this moment, all the beggar clan disciples laughed, which was really a relief. However, Chen Ang looked at Huang Shang speechless. Is that what I meant? Well? Huang Shang was stunned for a moment, and then asked doubtfully, didn't the admiral ask me to shoot down the flag? Chen Ang was speechless. What do you mean by pulling a piece of rag? I want you to kill them all. Chen Ang chuckled, and then, with a flick of his finger, several dim shadows flew instantly. On the opposite side, the 4 Xixia warriors around the general shouted low, drew out their weapons, and each blocked a dark shadow. However, boom! The next second, the black shadow exploded instantly, and dense flying needles exploded towards those Xixia warriors instantly. The 4 Xixia warriors screamed immediately. Their faces were covered with silver needles, and they obviously couldn't survive. And that part, the silver needle flew towards the general. Seeing that the general was about to die. However, at this moment, a figure with a cane appeared quickly and shouted. In an instant, violent sound waves spread, and that the terrifying sound wave power vibrated, and the silver needle almost stopped in mid-air without hurting the general at all. But obviously, this was not enough. 3 more figures appeared quickly, each using their own means to block the silver needle. Come down. However, after all, there is no way to protect everyone. On the Xixia side, there are not many people alive. It was only then that everyone saw clearly who was coming. A guy on crutches, and a guy as thin as the guy with the bamboo pole, a strong man holding a big iron scissors, a woman. These 4 people, the expressions of the people present changed slightly. Aren't these the 4 evil men? Duan Yanking is full of evil, yet Erniang does all evil, and Yu Lao is evil. Third, the extremely evil Yun Zhonghe. The four evil men were actually recruited by Zixia Yu Pintang? Everyone's expressions changed. But Chen Ang didn't care about that much at all. He just looked at Helian Tishu and said calmly, the governor of the Song dynasty Chen Ang is here. Zixia is just a small country, how dare you not come to see him? It is simply asking for death, so killing him is not an exaggeration. Na Helian Tishu's face turned livid. He was really angry. Looking at the Zixia soldiers lying on the ground, he gritted his teeth and snorted, how courageous. I am an envoy to the Zixia court, and I have no royal order. Do you dare to kill the envoy? How bold! Immediately, he directly took out the yellow cloth strip from his waist, stared at Chen Ang, and said coldly, this is the credential of Zixia. If you kill the envoy without permission, what crime should you do? Oh! Envoy! Chen Ang turned his head, looked at Huang Shang, and asked, is this the case? Huang Shang pondered for a moment and then said, from ancient times to the present, when the two countries are at war, envoys will not be killed. Since these are envoys, they must follow the rules. As soon as these words came out, all the disciples of the beggar clan and all the martial arts people present frowned. Yes, it has been a rule since ancient times that the two countries do not kill envoys during war. But every country and dynasty established by the Han people must be a state of etiquette. But, they talk about etiquette, but the Zixia dogs are a bunch of uneducated things. The envoys they sent out were beheaded by the Zixia dogs, and now, they came and were beheaded by Chen Ang, but they said that there was no war between the two countries. What nonsense are you talking about, beheading envoys? What the hell, bitch? Their faces look ugly. Only others are allowed to behead, but we are not allowed to behead. Although the country is one thing, the Zixia Yu Pintang and the beggar gang are another thing. In essence, they are all the same. The rules of the world, the rules of the country, are also the rules of the world. So, I killed the wrong person. At this time, Chen Ang frowned and suddenly said. Huang Shang sighed and nodded. Everyone present also clenched their fists secretly. Damn. Although Chen Ang is a bit capricious, but the sharp attack before, kill people directly, kill Zixia dogs, or let them relieve their anger. But now, this anger has come back. Seeing the situation at the scene and listening to Chen Ang's words, Helian Tisha suddenly laughed. The governor of the Song dynasty, right? Good, very good. I will definitely submit a copy of your book to the emperor of the Song dynasty and punish your 9 tribes. Unexpectedly, Chen Ang sighed. How could I be wrong? It must be these bandits and robbers who are good at killing Zixia envoys, seizing flags, and pretending to be Zixia envoys. The real envoys must have been killed by them. Come on, follow me to avenge the Zixia envoys. Chen Ang snorted coldly. The next second, he raised his hand and waved. In an instant, a silver light flashed away and went straight to Helian Tisha's head. Yanking's pupils shrank and he stretched out his hand to pull. Ah! But even if it was like this, Helian Tisha still covered his lower body and screamed. It was too fast. It was not that easy for Duan Yanking to save people under Chen Ang. Chen Ang glanced at it, didn't care, and led smiling. They walked towards the Zixia people. The Zixia people were so frightened that they couldn't help but retreat. They were once ruthless characters who fought on the battlefield, but in front of Chen Ang, they could only speak from the bottom of their hearts. How timid! Even those who are highly skilled in martial arts dare not express their anger after feeling the oppressive momentum. Some people couldn't bear the momentum and fell to the ground with pale faces. Some people were frightened and looked at Chen Ang. His eyes were full of fear. However, at this moment, Duan Yanking suddenly spoke in ventriloquism. Your Majesty has great supernatural powers and great martial arts, and we 4 evil villains are just eating for a living. Can you accept this martial arts and let me go? As soon as these words came out, the expressions of many people present changed again. What the hell? This momentum is also a kind of martial arts? What kind of weird martial arts is this? It actually has such a weird and fierce momentum. They haven't waited for them to think clearly. I saw the South Sea crocodile god Yu Lao-san let out a low drink. Boss, let me come, Yu Lao-san shouted angrily, grabbed the iron scissors and started to kill Chen Ang. He was really as fast as a crocodile. A pair of iron scissors was like a crocodile opening its mouth, choosing people to eat. However, Chen Ang he just took a slight step back and opened up Yu Lao-san's attack route. Yu Lao-san felt extremely uncomfortable, so he could only change his moves and continue to kill Chen Ang. But Chen Ang got out of his way again, and Yu Lao-san felt even more uncomfortable. Okay. Next, Chen Ang was like a cat playing with a mouse, playing with Yu Lao-san in the palm of his hand. This movement technique is simply amazing. Damn it, can you just run? Yu Lao-san was furious, and he cut the scissors down again. He thought that Chen Ang was about to turn around again, but he didn't expect that Chen Ang walked up to him instead, grabbed the big scissors with both hands, and exerted a slight force. He closed the scissors and slapped Yu Lao-san directly to the ground. Everyone was shocked. Yu Lao-san was also dumbfounded. Damn it, just like that, he slapped him easily. He defeated one of the four evil men? Is it fake? Everyone couldn't believe it. At this time, Yun Zhonghe took action again. Unfortunately, Yun Zhonghe was even more useless. He used his unparalleled Qing Gong, but unexpectedly, Chen Ang slapped him away and hit the big tree. In just a few breaths, the four villains knocked over two of them. Yet Erniang's eyes were about to burst when she saw it, and she still wanted to take action, but Duan Yanqing stopped her. Yet Erniang was obviously no match for Chen Ang. If Yet Erniang hadn't been useful in the future, I'm afraid she would have died long ago. The four evil men were really full of evil. That Yun Zhonghe is a flower-picking thief. That Yu Lao-san kills people for fun. That Yet Erniang even kills babies for fun. As for Duan Yanqing, the leader of the four evil men, on the contrary, disdains to do that kind of thing. But as the boss, Duan Yanqing also has a responsibility. Therefore, these four evil people should be eradicated together. But, again, that Yet Erniang is useful, wait until he reaches the Shaolin Temple, and then kill him. With Chen Ang's fierce look, Duan Yanqing also knew that there was nothing good he could do today. So, he joined forces with Yet Erniang to kill Chen Ang. Unfortunately, they still overestimated themselves. 0. Yet Erniang didn't count at all what, just some three-legged cat kung fu. That part of Yanqing's Yi-Yang finger is really powerful. The Duan family's unique Yi-Yang finger can use one finger to activate magical skills such as body-protecting chi and iron cloth shirt. However, in front of Chen Ang, just twisting and rubbing, the power of yin and yang was reversed, and the world was turned upside down in a mysterious way. Yet Erniang's body trembled, and she turned around involuntarily, allowing all Yanqing's yin and yang fingers to hit Yet Erniang. Time flies. At this moment, Wang Yuyan, Elder Su, and even one of the Xixia warriors all looked at Chen Ang in horror. The Xixia warrior immediately stood up and shouted in a low voice, "Who are you? Why is the time changing?" Chen Ang glanced at the Xixia warrior and smiled. Isn't this one of the real people everyone is looking for? Yes, this person is none other than Murongfu. Murongfu, disguised as a Xixia soldier, was hiding in Xixia in the team. This Do Chuan Xinyi can be said to be the secret skill of the Murong family. Now, Murongfu suddenly saw Do Chuan Xinyi in the hands of an outsider. How could he not be frightened? How could he not be horrified? It's just that. Time flies. Haha, is that garbage worthy of being compared with the great shift of the universe? Chen Ang sneered and spoke sarcastically. The great shift of the universe? At this moment, everyone's expressions changed slightly. What is the great shift of the universe? Have you never heard of it? Everyone was at a loss. But that section of Yanking directly pointed out that this great shift of the universe, it is the Ming cult's Kung Fu, which can only be practiced by the leader of the Ming cult. Co-author Chen Ang is the leader of the Ming cult. Everyone was thinking. But obviously, Chen Ang is not the leader of the Ming cult. But the people of the Beggar clan know that Chen Ang leads the imperial army and pursues kill the leader of Ming Jiao for 300 miles. No matter who you are, the wonders of the Murong family's fortunes have long been determined by the world, and it's not for you to comment on it. At this moment, a low shout rang out, and the Xixia warrior immediately rose up and attacked Chen Ang. However, Chen Ang's strength was not comparable to that of Murong Fu. That hand was just a light touch. In a flash, he grabbed Murong Fu directly in his palm. Duan Yanking also stepped forward to help. Unfortunately, neither Duan Yanking nor Murong Fu was a match for Chen Ang. With a slight pull and a hold, the two of them could be killed. Guess. It was only at this moment that everyone realized, good guy, it turned out that the Xixia soldier was Murong Fu in disguise. Seeing that Murong Fu lost to Chen Ang, Wang Yuyan was a little anxious and begged Duan Yu to save her cousin. Yu sighed, he had no choice but to step forward. Well done, let me give you a big gift, Chen Ang chuckled, pulling two forces to surround Duan Yu. Then, he kept slapping, lifted Duan Yu's hand, and faced their fingers. 4.9 The power entwining the fingertips was in Chen Ang's hands. Time. Duan Yu was like a puppet on strings, being led inexplicably. The most important thing was that his Biming divine art suddenly sensed the internal force, and then activated on its own. At this moment, he could not stop talking. Absolute internal energy flowed from Duan Yanking and Murong Fu's bodies, and penetrated into Duan Yu's body. Once the Biming divine art was used, it directly swallowed the internal energy, which was much more powerful than any star-absorbing technique. But in the blink of an eye, the energy in the two people's bodies, the huge internal power disappeared without a trace. In the past, when Duan Yu used it on his own, he could still stop it. But now, it was almost controlled by Chen Ang. How could he resist? The internal power was so strong he sucked it full. Feeling the vast inner force in his body, Duan Yu was speechless. Murong Fu was even more crazy. Decades of hard work turned into nothing in one day. Who the hell can bear this? But now he is, as if they were inhuman. They were nothing more than barking dogs with broken spines. Next, it was seen that Chen Ang went to Wanjie Shui Pavilion again and read all the essentials of martial arts there. Of course she didn't go there secretly, but went there openly. Wang Yuyan's mother, Li Qingluo, was originally a murderer, but when she met Chen Ang, she had no choice but to be filled with fertilizer by Chen Ang. And this was even done with water. The martial arts in the pavilion are so exquisite. There are many things that no one else can see, but often there are various meanings in these things. There are many contents with various annotations, which even Chen Ang can see. There are some shadows of Tianshan plum breaking hands. The combination of all these things is a Xiaoao sect. Regarding this, Chen Ang can only lament that these guys are so useless, guarding the treasure mountain without knowing it. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 232. At this time, countless people were watching Chen Ang's actions. After watching Wanjie Shui Pavilion's martial arts, it can be said that Chen Ang has conquered almost all the martial arts in the world. Of course, this is only his early purpose, and it's not even the time to lay the groundwork. The real foreshadowing comes when Chen Ang ends his trip to Shaolin. As for Shaolin and his entourage, the entire world saw how terrifying the imperial court was. The imperial court had almost wiped out countless sects. Xixia Yu Pintang, Tianshan Lingju Palace, Jiangnan Parak Hall, Sichuan Tang Sect, Wen Family Time Honored Brand, etc. No matter what martial arts family or sect you are, they were all wiped out under the crushing force of the Forbidden Martial Arts Hall. The words Forbidden Martial Arts Hall are like Mount Tai, weighing heavily on the hearts of all people in the martial arts world. The life of those heroes in the world is getting more and more difficult. The imperial court not only suppressed sects, but also suppressed prices and suppressed illegal guilds. There is a sharp sword like the Forbidden Martial Arts Hall, and nobles from aristocratic families have also reached out to the world. The government's control is becoming more and more broad. Now, ordinary people will not send their children to any gang or sect to practice martial arts. Instead, they will send their children directly to the capital, to the martial arts hall, and the Yulin army. The government has completely taken control of the Jianghu forces. There are 6 gates, forbidden martial arts halls, and rivers and lakes. That is really a thing of the past. What kind of green forest hero? Sorry, in today's big era, there is no room for survival. Those heroes were so aggrieved that they couldn't even breathe. The key is, after building a huge sea ship, after the 4 masters of the Forbidden Martial Arts Hall forced the countries of Tianzu to surrender and pay tribute, the vast land that was not the Song dynasty became the place where these people in the world fought for their lives. The place. De Song, I can't wait any longer. The big sects in the arena, and even some of the severely suppressed sects in the arena, finally had to set their sights overseas. When a few third-rate masters earned a fortune in Nanyang and came back, they made countless people jealous. The territory of the Song dynasty can be seen everywhere. With the Forbidden Martial Arts Hall here, the Song dynasty's conquests could be described as unparalleled. As long as the emperor is not a fatuous emperor, it will not be a problem for the Song dynasty to rule the world for 20 years. Chen Ang no longer cares about this. Because he has left this world. Promoting martial arts is not achieved overnight. He laid a foundation and left an introduction. That's enough. He just needs to wait until the future and return to this world. By then, he will be able to see a real prosperous age of martial arts. At this time, he was already standing in his largest laboratory. After this period of development, considerable progress has been made here. Doctor, platform number 1 is ready. At this time, someone called him from behind Chen Ang. Chen Ang turned his head, but what he saw was the old doctor standing in front of a huge machine, panting and saying, "Doctor, the evolution potion is ready. Your genetic stability has reached an extremely high level, and you can now inject genetic medicine." Chen Ang nodded, then frowned, and said, "Cultivation of blood orchid is so slow? Is the new generation of evolution potion still inseparable from blood orchid as a stabilizer?" The old doctor sighed. "The cultivation of blood orchid requires an extremely precious natural substance that cannot be synthesized artificially. This is the reason why the efficacy of blood orchid is guaranteed. We cannot cultivate it on a large scale. If the evolutionary medicine does not have this kind of stabilizer, the mortality rate will be astonishingly high." "Well, what about the research on how qi and blood orchid interact with each other?" Chen Ang asked again. "Now he probably has 2 directions of evolution, one is the brain, and the other is the internal force of cultivation. Internal force is the essence of human beings, the rush to stabilize the body. The brain is the direction of his evolution. If he can study with the cooperation of bleeding orchid and qi, he will undergo earth-shaking changes." He had already ordered this matter. He looked at the old doctor. The old doctor said, "It's going well. Some evolver experimental subjects have successfully sensed qi. According to several blood samples brought back by the doctor, their lifespans can reach 300 years. Qi seems to have a clear promoting effect on the evolution potion." Chen Ang nodded, and immediately he lay down on the test table. The next second, the red medicine was directly injected into his body. Buzz. At this moment, Chen Ang's eyes suddenly turned deep and dark blue, and immediately, his body began to tremble. However, Chen Ang soon controlled it. At this moment, buzz. In the laboratory, those little things suddenly floated. It seemed that the laboratory was suddenly no longer on the Earth, but in space without gravity. The old doctor looked at the scene with a face full of shock, and soon he came back to his senses. Come on, hurry up and order someone to record the experimental data. This is already a supernatural phenomenon. At this moment, Chen Ang thought, and a piece of paper appeared in his palm. The paper floated in the air, and soon, he folded it in half and then pulled it up, and then folded. After a series of complicated changes, the piece of paper turned into a paper frog. And everything around it was instantly enveloped by gravity again at this moment, and fell to the ground with a crash. Only the frog was still floating in Chen Ang's hand. It was beating as if it was really alive. How was the observation? Chen Ang suddenly asked a researcher next to him. The researcher was stunned at first, and then hurriedly reported the instrument completely detects unphysical quantities, and we cannot observe its reaction. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. No, I am still suspecting that there is something wrong with my eyes. The researcher recalled everything that had happened before and looked at the paper frog floating in the air with some disbelief. This was simply a magical skill, so miraculous that it simply subverted their three views. Maybe it's not a problem with the eyes or the equipment, but our world that hides these things, Chen Ang chuckled. He could feel his own strength. He knew that with this strength, he could probably lift 5 kilograms out of thin air. He could vaguely sense something, but there seemed to be a lot of fog, making him unable to see clearly. This world is like a big lock, and it can't do anything about the power in his body. However, it seems to have a direct effect on the physical and natural power. Physics? Haha, this kind of supernatural power, something like a superpower, is it still considered physics? Chen Ang chuckled. However, he also thought of more. Different worlds have different laws. Although these laws seem to be compatible with each other, just like the flying saucer he built can operate equally in the Tianlong world. The basic laws of the world are the same. However, there will also be some worlds with completely different laws. Although most things are compatible with each other, it is obvious that some powers, due to some special conditions and some abilities, cannot be used in worlds that are too different. Used. In one world, science may be the absolute truth. But in the multiverse, science is only one of the relatively correct paths. Many essential things, things related to the human body, may be true in multiple worlds. It can work. After all, these things come from oneself. But things outside the body are not that simple. And now, the new power Chen Ang brings because of the potion belongs to power outside the body itself. It seems that we need to go to a new world. A world of supernatural powers. Chen Ang's eyes flashed. For a moment, he thought of a certain world. Then, he returned to the room, and the next second, he disappeared. Buzz. When he appeared again, he was already standing on top of the Empire State Building. This world. Chen Ang closed his eyes and felt everything in this world. This involves the Force, and it seems to be boiling to an unusual level. Moreover, in this world, the laws are still very loose, and physical constants can be easily manipulated. Miracles in other worlds may be easily accomplished in this world. This is the specialness of this world. Although some things are meaningless in other worlds, they are at least useful in this world. After a long time, Chen Ang opened his eyes again and looked at the bustling crowd on the ground from the top of the Empire State Building. A smile appeared on his lips. Immediately, with a thought in his mind, he looked at the distorted light in front of him, looked at those electromagnetic waves, and gently moved his hand, and a beam of electromagnetic waves flickered. However, Chen Ang's small action made hundreds of millions of people put down their remote controls. Their faces were dark and they were cursing. Because, the TV sets in front of them all had snowflake spots, as if there was no signal. The key is, changing the channel doesn't work. Maybe I could still see the picture for a second or two, but then, the snowflakes were like a virus, infecting other channels. This is the case with countless televisions, as if the signal has been interfered with. The key is, it's not just TV, but also mobile phones, the internet, radio stations. In the end, the whole world, everything related to signals seems to be stuck. Countless people panicked. What the hell is this? Aliens invaded? Before they could think clearly, they suddenly heard a strange voice coming from the TV, mobile phone, or the internet. Hello everyone, I'm at the Empire State Building saying hello. This voice seems to be a collection of countless languages. No matter which country you are from, you can understand it. Just when countless people were at a loss, they saw that a picture appeared on the screen in front of them. In the picture, it was the top of the Empire State Building. And there is another person on the top of the Empire State Building, a man. He is a tall man. Who is this if it's not Chen Ang? At this moment, Chen Ang's voice sounded faintly, transmitted through the screen. It caught everyone's ears. This is a world full of magic, mutants, superpowers, radiation monsters, super technology, superheroes, and supervillains. They are subverting scientific common sense all the time. To be honest, I really can't imagine how you still insist on scientific views there. How can you still believe in science when you see monsters flying into the sky and escaping from the earth, and humans making fireballs with their palms? Gee, I really admire you. At this moment, as Chen Ang broadcast live to the world, everyone was stunned. One person, live broadcast to the world? And he forced everyone to see it? Is he a lunatic? Countless people were surprised. At the same time, all the superpower organizations in the world, including the ex-police, etc., quickly set off towards the Empire State Building. At the same time, countless people in the world were a little surprised when they saw this scene. No one expected that Chen Ang would use his big moves as soon as he came up. Good guy, are you going to challenge the whole world as soon as you come up? Is it okay for one person to challenge the whole world? This time, Chen Laomo played a little too big. Ability? Chen Ang awakened his superpower? What abilities have you awakened before? What are superpowers? Is there any explanation? Aren't superpowers just superpowers? This superpower, well, isn't it just some kind of special talent? It's not a special innate magical power, it's an innate magical power. 950 Tisk, old Mo Chen, you've actually started to attack superpowers. After that, are you going to study magic again? Have you studied cultivating immortality? This Chen Ang could actually travel to my world? Hiss, no way. Did I see an acquaintance? What happened? Good guy, caught one of the people involved. On set, I was the Empire State Building. At the scene, I was the pendant on Dr. Chen. At the scene, I was the inner force in Dr. Chen's body. At the scene, I am the superpower of Chen Laomo. At this time, in all the worlds, countless sand sculptures are saying, each one is more and more weird than before. However, funny is funny, in some worlds, countless people look at the Empire State Building, and each one of them is also very dignified. Damn it. That's the Empire State Building, right? Is it really the Empire State Building? This Dr. Chen won't travel to his own world, right? Fortunately, they haven't experienced that, but their hearts won't drop when they mention it. Maybe Chen Ang is really in the world of Tianlong and is about to come out and prepare to go to the world where they are? Countless people thought like this. Then one by one they looked at the Dao Golden List again. but what they saw was in the picture. With Chen Ang's global live broadcast, provoking the whole world. Naturally, the ex-police in this world can't sit still. So, hey, look here, a female voice appeared behind Chen Ang. Chen Ang turned his head, but what he saw was a woman with gray hair. She was Storm. Seeing Chen Ang turning his head, Storm suddenly waved out a stream of air without saying a word. With unstoppable powerful kinetic energy, directly impacted Chen Ang's abdomen. However, in just an instant, Chen Ang seemed to be weightless, floating gently with the wind. He tapped the airflow lightly with his toes, and his body shape it was floating for tens of meters. However, at this moment, a high-energy laser shot towards Chen Ang. Buzz, however, the high-energy laser did not penetrate Chen Ang's body, but was directly reflected by some kind of force and went back. Chen Ang glanced at it and smiled. It was Storm first, then Cyclops, and King Kong. Wolf, Phoenix Girl, etc. If he doesn't show up, he will still remind Police X. Suddenly the professor's voice came to everyone's ears. Be careful, his mind is very strong, I can't detect, sense, or affect him. This is a terrible opponent. In this regard, Chen Ang smiled slightly. At this time, all the ex-policemen were still listening to the professor telling the tactics. However, at this moment, an abrupt, somewhat unfamiliar voice suddenly grabbed the microphone. Hello, Professor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 233. At this moment, as Chen Ang's voice sounded, all the ex-policemen present were stunned. Immediately, one by one suddenly turned their heads and stared at Chen Ang. Even Professor X was silent at this moment. He knew that Chen Ang might be very strong, but he never expected that Chen Ang would be so strong. On a spiritual level, would he actually be on par with him? No. Professor X felt a little uneasy. This guy is stronger than he imagined. After a long time, he said quietly, since Jean, you said that you and I have seen the most terrifying mutants, kid, why did you choose chaos and darkness? However, Chen Ang curled his lips and said, I never chose darkness. It favored me, but I ignored it. Killing and chaos, power and wealth are not what I pursue, I keep moving forward. The professor was silent for a moment, as if he sensed something, and suddenly felt a little surprised. I feel your heart, pure and firm, and I can even feel your kindness to all things. Why is all this? He never thought that a person who could have good intentions towards all things could actually do such a thing. Chen Ang looked into the void and said quietly, there are so many mutants in the world. They move the universe and have all kinds of powers. With all kinds of powers, they are immortal, can even stop time, control optics, and have telepathy. They are the care of everything and the care of the universe. However, they are intoxicated with power and have no knowledge or understanding of this world. Do you know what the nature of superpowers is? The professor pondered for a while and then said, I don't know what you think of supernatural powers, however, I think superpowers are a wealth given by God. They make every child better. Superpowers make this world wonderful. However, human suspicion have changed everything. My child, you will aggravate this process. He sighed, very helpless. Chen Ang had good intentions towards all things, but what he did made everyone hate him. Although Chen Ang didn't do anything, he just stood up and provoked the whole world. Can you not make the whole world angry? However, Chen Ang sighed, it is your own fault, and it will end badly. Superpowers are not strength, nor rights, nor a symbol of status, nor a manifestation of wealth. Superpower is just knowledge, discovery, and exploration. When people with superpowers use superpowers as their power, they are destined to live in the fear of suspicion, because they are afraid, even, fanatically support this power. Some people think they are superior to others and have power, but they ignore evolution and accumulation. Human society is not the natural world, and it is not the dark law of survival of the fittest. The new human beings you have created are eliminated. Your noble status has been shattered long ago when you no longer represent the progressive productivity of mankind. Humans are not animals, and strength cannot eliminate everything. Our progress ultimately relies on wisdom. As people with special abilities, you could have many conveniences, but you have made almost no contribution to science, wisdom, economy, and society. Therefore, you do not represent the forces of progress. To put it harshly, you are just a group of monkeys with power and independence from the human race. What he said was so unkind. The professor was silenced. After a long time, he said, "You are right, we are the ones who are lagging behind. I regret the wrong misinterpretation of the theory of evolution when I was young." Chen Ang said lightly, "Killing is not the road, only progress is everything. When scientists, doctors, workers, and farmers all have superpowers, and when you begin to use this power to contribute to the benefit of mankind, the killings and barriers will naturally be resolved." As soon as these words came out, the professor's eyes flashed and he said, "I will be proud of this. The power of superpowers may not be about maintaining power, but about promoting progress. My child, you are the leader of the superpowers. You are more suitable to lead the superpowers than Magneto and I. Come with me, you are the future." The professor saw hope in Chen Ang. He saw hope in leading mutants to glory. He inspired mutants to coexist peacefully with humans, and has been working hard, but has never succeeded. Now, he sees in Chen Ang this is a possibility. But Chen Ang said, "I am not a mutant." "It doesn't matter," the professor sincerely invited. "Does it matter whether he is a mutant or not? As long as he has superpowers, what does it matter if he is not a mutant? At least, Chen Ang's goal, what Chen Ang wants to achieve, is what he wants to see." However, Chen Ang still sighed, "What you pursue is world peace, not progress, but I am different. What I pursue is progress, and we are not the same people. As the saying goes, different ways do not work together. I will let the world see the power of wisdom and let them see how superpowers can move the world. I hope it can be helpful to you. There is absolutely no need for you to take such an extreme route. We can make progress together with mankind," the professor said anxiously. "No." Chen Ang still shook his head. "I am a traveler in time and space and a messenger of progress. For every world, I am just a passerby. I appreciate the scenery of different worlds and listen to the voice of fate. I declare the direction of progress. Let me witness the wonders of the world. No matter where you are, whether you are a superhero or a supervillain, I will witness everything." At this moment, Chen Ang raised his hand, and a bolt of lightning struck out of the air, instantly knocking Storm away. At this moment, Chen Ang stood on the top of the Empire State Building and declared to the world, "I am the king." At this moment, everyone in the world looked at Chen Ang in the live broadcast with a dull expression on his face. At the same time, countless people in the world saw this scene. How shameful. What a good second grader. I never thought that Chen Laomo would still be in the second grade like this. It's so outlandish that I can't stand it anymore. This is the first time to see such a son of luck, too high profile, too arrogant, and too rampant. Tisk tisk, I laughed so much. King of the world? What a king of the world. It's so embarrassing. Although I know it's Chen Ang's performance, now it's not only broadcast live all over the world, it's also broadcast live in the entire universe and even all the worlds. By the way, Chen Ang can travel through all the worlds. Can he also travel to the worlds we have seen before? Not to mention, it is really possible. By the way, what level is Chen Ang at now? How does it compare with the previous Son of Destiny? Haha, I can only say that with the power Chen Ang has shown now, he will be beaten. Phew, ha ha ha, I was laughing so hard. Is being beaten okay? Isn't it? Being beaten? Real or fake? Chen Lao Mo was hanged and beaten? Are you kidding? Chen Lao Mo has developed at least 30% of his brain now, right? Are you still being beaten? It's normal. Although the brain is highly developed, the IQ is very high, and the wisdom is very high, but, there is a saying you should have heard, when a scholar meets a soldier, he cannot explain the reason. Ha ha ha, it made me laugh so hard, but it seems that it is indeed the case. When encountering Xiao Yan may not be as intelligent as him, but Xiao Yan is able to cast down a Buddha's wrathful lotus, and Chen Ang is instantly wiped out. At this time, countless people were discussing crazily. At the same time, in the fighting world. These guys, Xiao Yan looked at the Dao Golden List with some indignation. Now he has the strength to fight? Yes, his strength has steadily improved to Dozan, and he has also snatched 10 different fires. Even if he is a Do sage, he is confident that he can fight without relying on Emperor Yan. As his strength increased, he also saw the discussions among countless people in the world. What the hell, you actually used yourself as an example. Am I so good at it? What does it mean that my IQ is not good? You have such a low IQ. What do you mean I am crushing you with my powerlessness? What does it mean that when a scholar encounters a soldier, he can't explain it rationally? What the hell, do all the worlds think of myself as a reckless man? So what's so great about Chen Ang? Doesn't it mean that he can travel through time? Wait, time travel. The corners of Xiao Yan's mouth twitched. This was the first time he saw someone who could seriously travel through time. Since he could take the initiative, could he also travel to the world he was in now? Can we come and plunder his treasure? The more Xiao Yan thinks about it, the more wonderful her face becomes. Their world is already a bit barren. If they meet Chen Ang again. Boy, what are you thinking about? If Chen Ang could time travel, he would be in a parallel world similar to ours, not the world he is in now. Yaezun said calmly. Is it? Xiao Yan looked at Chen Ang, who was standing on the top of the Empire State Building in the Grand Avenue Gold List, and still frowned. This kind of guy who can travel through time is the most difficult to deal with. He absorbs the nutrients from all the heavens and worlds to improve himself. This kind of people can use almost countless powers for their own use. This kind of existence is the most terrifying. Moreover, the future of such people is also the most unfavorable. If your qualifications are not good, then go to another world and improve your qualifications. Watch the violence. If your health is not good, then go to a world to improve your body. Chen Ang, that's what you do. Children of ordinary luck are really not as good as they are in terms of growth. It's true, not as good as Chen Ang. This kind of person is also the most detached. Subconsciously, Xiao Yan clenched her fists. At this time, in a prehistoric world composed of a certain universe, Li Changshao frowned when he looked at Chen Ang, who was on the Dao Gold List. Children of this kind of luck who travel through the current will eventually embark on a prehistoric road. Prehistoric. Li Changshao thought, according to the theory of parallel worlds, there should be countless prehistoric people. At least, he knew very well that there was no one like him in the prehistoric world. If Chen Ang travels to a certain prehistoric place in the future, who knows how the saints will react? Li Changshao thought and finally shook his head. This is still too far. Now Chen Ang is just a small character, not even an immortal. I don't know how long it will take until he travels through the wilderness. However, some of Chen Ang's ideas, some wisdom practices, some origin improvements, and some theories of life evolution can still be used for reference. At this time, countless people in the world are thinking and discussing. At this moment, as everyone saw, Chen Ang's voice could be heard faintly in the picture. He seemed to be introducing it to the world and giving his little popular science lecture. A stone was suspended in front of Chen Ang. Chen Ang laughed and said, "You seem to call the ability to move objects with your thoughts telekinesis, but obviously, this is a wrong concept. You cannot deduce conclusions based on the results. In science, it is a very serious mistake. The movement of thoughts, under the surface, is the wisdom of a giant. For example, this is the way ordinary superpowers fight." Chen Ang said, hitting the stone against the wall. Driven by the huge kinetic energy, a big crater was created in the wall. Judging from the performance alone, this blow is powerful enough. If it hits a person, it will definitely leave a hole. However, Chen Ang said this is the most direct method, but it is too crude. It is as ridiculous as a monkey throwing stones at a controllable nuclear fusion reactor. If wisdom is used to control it, it will be like this. As Chen Ang spoke, he saw a ball of gasoline floating in front of Chen Ang. Suddenly, the gasoline burned violently, and under invisible control, huge kinetic and thermal energy instantly blasted towards the Empire State Building. Boom! At this moment, with the high temperature and terrifying kinetic energy, the Empire State Building began to melt and break visibly to the naked eye. The top of the Empire State Building suddenly collapsed. However, under Chen Ang's control, it just quietly turned into a rubble. The control was so frighteningly precise. Countless people's eyelids were twitching wildly. They could still understand if they threw stones. But the gasoline caught fire, and when you pushed it forward, how the hell did it melt the top of the Empire State Building? At this time, it was, listen, Chen Ang explained calmly, the calorific value of gasoline is about 44,000 kilojoules per kilogram. If the density is 0.73 grams per milliliter, it can produce 3.212*10 carat 4 kJ, which is 32,120 kilojoules of energy. What concept? Well, melting gold, forging iron, destroying boulders, these are all child's play. It only takes 1 liter of gasoline to destroy the entire Hoover Dam. At this moment, everyone was thinking. At the same time, more people were confused and didn't know what Chen Ang was talking about. Many things cannot be understood just by listening to Chen Ang's words. Otherwise, the physics teacher would you can laugh it off. However, Chen Ang's last example made countless people tremble with fear. Just remember that 1 liter of gasoline, with the blessing of telekinesis, can destroy the Hoover Dam. Damn! What kind of concept is this? Just a small power can defy the heavens. At this moment, the ex-police at the scene, Wanjies, were all horrified. They could already see that the world was about to collapse. However, Chen Ang was still narrating. However, even if you control your power accurately, it is nothing. When you discover the wisdom behind the power, it is truly wonderful. What is telekinesis? To me he is a force field, to others perhaps a magnetizing field. Maybe it's fluid manipulation. With one performance, there are countless possibilities. And mine should be called gravity control. Chen Ang said. Another stone floated in front of him, and he said, the essence of gravity, mass affects the folds of space, so my telekinesis has 3 points, mass, space, and energy. Unfortunately, we are on a huge mass body and among countless space folds. When the knowledge and control reach a certain level, it will be a nightmare. The folds of space drive the movement of objects, just like high density will move to low density places. This kind of power is the essence of telekinesis. Energy is conserved, and all telekinesis relies on the huge mass under our feet. So what would it look like if this kind of control reached its peak? Chen Ang smiled, and then waved his hand gently. Countless people were shocked. Because they saw their statues were destroyed into debris in an instant. The Manhattan River also seemed to have lost its gravity. Hundreds of millions of tons of river water rushed into the sea, destroying the world. Chang'an broadcast live to the world, and said lightly to destroy the statue, "I only need an instant, to destroy Manhattan, I only need 3 seconds, 3 minutes in New York, 3 hours in New York State, 3 days in the United States, it only takes 3 weeks to destroy the whole world. Congratulations to everyone, in 3 days, a small star with a diameter of 800 meters will fall. In 3 weeks, a small star with a diameter of 30 kilometers will fall. In 3 months, you will be lucky enough to see the moon hit the earth. So, no matter who you are, superhero or regular person, find me and stop me. Win a breathing space for your world and survive as long as you can." Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 234. Numb. At this moment, countless people all over the world, and even all the worlds, looked at the arrogant Chang'an, and they all became numb. Then, damn it, this Dr. Chen is really fierce. He just wants to challenge the whole world. It seems that he can do many things with his abilities. Gravity. Isn't this ability just about making objects float? He can actually do this. It only takes 3 hours to destroy a state, 3 days to destroy a country, and 3 weeks to destroy the whole world. Good guy, Chang'an has gone from low martial arts to high martial arts in an instant. Did just one ability, just the ability to control gravity, bring Chang'an such a terrifying improvement? Absolutely outrageous. It's so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. Real or fake? Haha, what do you think gravity is? Gravity is one of the 4 basic forces. It controls one of the 4 basic forces. In the world where Wanjie is located, it can be regarded as a pseudo-unified force civilization. This kind of civilization is already very top-notch. Indeed, the 4 basic forces. You know, everything has gravity. Tides are locked by gravity. Everything in space is locked by gravity. What step can you take by controlling gravity? To put it simply, if you put it on a person, if you control it carefully enough, you can even destroy part of the gravitational balance of the human body. What will happen when your heart loses its gravitational balance, and when your brain loses its gravitational balance? Just die a painful death. If we continue to use physics and various chemical reactions like Chang'an, as he said, 1 liter of gasoline can blow up any dam if controlled. Controlling gravity is not what you think, it's just flying, it's just the most superficial application. Yes, gravity exists in everything. If you control gravity, you can control the whole world, because the most basic particles are also attracted to each other by gravity. Once you control gravity, you can even decompose everything and dismantle everything. There is no upper limit to this ability. Damn it, is gravity so strong? Nonsense, this is one of the 4 basic forces. I feel that this is even a basic law common to all heavens and worlds. Don't feel it, this is the basic law of all heavens and worlds. In fact, the most terrifying black hole in nature is also a distortion of space caused by strong gravity. In other words, if Chang'an is strong enough and has the ability to control gravity meticulously, then he can even rub 523 black holes with his hands. Coming down from a black hole is much scarier than a towed meteorite impact. Good guy, I'm already numb. Isn't the gravity too strong? Not only is gravity strong, but you can declare yourself invincible by controlling any one of the 4 basic forces. Tisk, decompose all things, control all things, condense all things, this Chang'an's upper limit is already terrifying and unimaginable. At this time, countless people in the world are discussing. Looking at the arrogant Chang'an in the picture, everyone's scalp is numb. This is Chang'an. From now on, Chang'an's upper limit, Chang'an his combat power has been rising infinitely. In fact, countless people feel that Chen Ang's combat power is already at the forefront among all the children of destiny. At the same level, there is no one who is Chen Ang's opponents, well, except Wanjie. Wanjie's omniscience is too buggy. At this time, countless people looked at the Dao gold list again. As Chen Ang declared the world, he became the public enemy of the world. Almost as Chen Ang said like that, 3 minutes later, New York was in ruins. It fell, it was that simple. And countless people in the country under Chen Ang, whether it was the military or special forces, were frantically analyzing Chen Ang. Chen Ang, I don't know where he jumped out from. He should be a Chinese. However, I don't know Chen Ang's background at all. I don't know where Chen Ang comes from. I don't know his identity, background, or family members. Chen Ang is like it was like someone who suddenly appeared in this world. They obviously didn't know about Chen Ang's conversation with the professor. They only saw a madman suddenly declare war on the whole world, the kind that even the ex-police had never fought. This kind of madman is also a madman with superpowers. Then you have to use the same superpower to kill him. At this moment, in a base, a man coldly pressed the button in his hand and dispatched his capable generals. At this time, Chen Ang had already put the earth turned into his throne. A huge steel structure hovered in the center of the city. TV towers and steel frames gathered from all directions, twisting into a huge steel throne on the original site of the Empire State Building. Chen Ang stood on at the peak, looking into the endless distance. He seemed to sense something, and the corner of his mouth curled up. We're finally here. Gravity, speg, is like a huge spider web, spreading to the entire country, and even spreading to other regions. Everything related to gravity will be reflected through this big web, allowing Chen Ang to feel it. And in this world, everything, whether it is walking or shaking, will work with gravity. Therefore, no matter who it is, once they step into Chen Ang's control area, they will be sensed by Chen Ang. He can even regard himself as the hub of the global network, through wireless networks, borrows the infinite calculation capacity of global computers to monitor every inch of the world. He even sees what happens on Stryker's side. He also sees the people sent by Stryker. In his eyes. Finally, when he got close, several human bodies with strangely twisted magnetic fields were approaching him quickly. People were coming, and these people. Fluid, Earth King, Deadpool, Illusion Master, Colossus. Chen Ang looked at the several figures that appeared in front of him and smiled. Fluid, a man in black, has the ability to blend into any fluid and turn any object he comes into contact into fluid. The King of Earth, as long as he stands on the ground, he can be connected to the earth, like a hole. Not even gravity can destroy this hole. Deadpool, a weapon loaded with various abilities by Stryker. The current Deadpool, well, is in a state of silence. The Master of Illusion, the existence that creates illusions. The Man of Steel, a mutant whose whole body can be made of steel. At this time, it can be seen that the fluid turns the steel just by lightly touching it. It turned into a red molten iron fluid and surged towards Chen Ang. The Earth King stood on the flowing concrete, and the soil and stones enveloped him, turning him into a huge giant. On his shoulders, there was also a steel man standing, Master of Illusion, held in his palm. Chen Ang was still admiring the masterpieces of these guys. However, at this moment, behind Chen Ang, the space suddenly distorted, and soon, a steel knife, just like that appeared and stabbed Chen Ang in the back of the heart. However, this slash only pierced Chen Ang's shadow. It was only then that the man walked out of the void. He was a man with these many carvings on his body. Lines, and 2 steel knives are pierced on the wrists. They are steel knives made of Edelman alloy. This version of Deadpool has many abilities, including super self-healing, steel knives extending from the wrist, and even laser eyes, teleportation and other abilities. He is simply the ultimate suture monster. Teleportation is impossible to guard against. But Chen Ang appears behind Deadpool now. You are a warrior now. Chen Ang chuckled, stretched out his hand, and a steel bar touched Deadpool's spine gently. In an instant, an invisible force began to vibrate and penetrated into Deadpool's spine, destroying his actions. Well, don't speak. This doesn't suit your style. Oh. Sorry, forgot you can't speak now. Chen Ang looked at Deadpool's sealed mouth and smiled. Then he flipped his wrist, and the steel bar instantly lifted Deadpool high. With another move of his wrist, he directly went to pull down the arm behind Deadpool. An alloy knife. The sharp cold light illuminated Chen Ang's eyes, and then Deadpool tilted his head and looked at Chen Ang. As soon as the steel bar was lightened, the Deadpool instantly disappeared without a trace. Jumping in space. But Chen Ang chuckled. It's time for you to learn physics. Chen Ang said, stretched out his hand towards the sun, making a strangulation gesture. At the same time, his voice was still coming. If your physics teacher is still alive, he will definitely be willing to teach you about space and gravity. Relationship. In this way, you won't be stupid enough to do something stupid like jumping in space in front of a gravity master. At this moment, countless small gravitational lines wrapped around Chen Ang's hand and spread into the void. Countless folds began to appear in the space, as if a big funnel had appeared, and the opening of the funnel was right. Chen Ang just casually he pinched Deadpool's chest, and then suddenly used the steel bar to pierce the back of Deadpool's head. Immediately, countless protruding steel bars pierced Deadpool's limbs. But this is not over yet. Sizzling, an iron cone wrapped with electric current pierced Deadpool's spine. Deadpool was speechless and unable to cry out in pain, but his body was twitching crazily under the stimulation of this electric current. Stand up. His expression was dazed and painful. Deadpool was immediately abolished. The most important thing is that Chen Ang felt how Deadpool jumped in space. So, I can also jump in space. Chen Ang smiled and took a step forward. The space was directly distorted. When he appeared again, he was already standing on the sea 10 miles away. Then, he took another step, and at the same time, he waved the alloy sword in his hand. Poof, in the void, the sword flashed away, and the steel man's head was cut off directly. Immediately afterwards, there was a second knife, a third knife. The huge Earth King's body was cut, chopped off, and smashed down with a roar. If the fluid hadn't wrapped around Colossus' head and reattached his skull, he would have died. However, he is not feeling well now. At the same time, the king of the land was not feeling well either. That idiot Deadpool. Lulu snorted coldly. He never expected that a Deadpool would not only let Chen Ang get the Edelman alloy knife, but also let Chen Ang learn space jumping. Can such a superpower be learned? He didn't understand, but he still sneered and shouted into the void. So what if it's adamantium alloy? Physical force cannot hurt me. You may have some special skills, but you should never provoke me. Is it? Chen Ang's figure suddenly appeared behind Li Yulai. Come on, chop me. The fluid was not afraid and looked up at Chen Ang. Buzz. However, Chen Ang just waved his hand gently, and his huge steel throne slowly floated up. How? Are you going to hit me with this thing? Hee. Fluid looked at the iron throne with disdain. Gee, in your impression, is physics just about force? Chen Ang looked at the fluid strangely. He controlled the iron throne to rotate slowly, and the three huge steel frames flashing with blue arcs were aimed at the fluid. Do you think this thing is used to hit people? Chen Ang laughed and said, I'm not Magneto. I don't like using a pile of scrap metal to do work. Chen Ang said, the next step was to stand on the iron throne. At the same time, sizzle, the terrifying electric current burst out instantly, passed through the Iron Throne, wrapped around the entire ground, and spread throughout the entire area. The terrifying electric current gathered. The fluid instantly found that it seemed that it could not move. It seems that few mutants have ever gone to school. Chang'an smiled mockingly, and at the same time, he also said to the professor in his heart, they blindly believe in their own power, and have long forgotten what their brains are for. It seems like they have an atavistic instinct, and they know how to hit them. Smash it and fight with muscles. They seem to have forgotten long ago that humans did not just rely on muscles to fight thousands of years ago. Call police X. The professor was silent for a while, then sighed. War is not a solution to the problem, neither is killing. Maybe you are right, but no matter what, I have to stop you. Chang'an smiled. He just stood on the Iron Throne, crossed his legs, and looked at everything. The magnetic field wrapped around the entire area and spread over the entire area. All metal objects floated and took another look. Deadpool, whose eyes were still trembling, smiled again. His Iron Throne was no ordinary iron lump. It was an electromagnetic generator. The powerful kinetic energy of a stream of water was converted into magnetic field current. With this thing as his back, he can already be called a gravity master with unlimited energy backing. But at this time, less than a minute has passed. Chang'an has already solved Deadpool and the fluid. As for the King of Earth, those molten iron that have lost control of the fluid are in the magnetic field. Under the package, it began to rotate at an accelerated speed, and a huge iron block emitted scorching heat in the magnetic field. Under Chang'an's control, the cannonball was aimed at the King of Earth. Sizzling, terrifying electric arcs circled the cannonballs, and terrifying kinetic energy was working and accelerating. Rubbing the electromagnetic gun with your hands. Boom. The next second, the terrifying electromagnetic gun exploded, destroying everything in an instant. The powerful and terrifying shock wave shook the whole of New York. The huge wave of mud was even thrown thousands of meters high. In this country, it can feel the vibration under your feet. Half of Manhattan Island disappeared directly in front of everyone. This blow was enough to destroy the world. Chang'an's terror was simply terrifying. However, in the blink of an eye, what Chang'an saw was that the Earth King standing there intact. In response, Chang'an smiled and said hello. Hello Jason. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 235. Worry. At this time, countless people in the world watched the scene on the screen with numbness. Although the King of Earth seemed to be standing in front of Chang'an intact. However, anyone with a discerning eye knows that this is definitely a fantasy created by Jason. Everything that was killed by the electromagnetic cannon absolutely happened. This Chang'an is so terrifying. Is the power of technology and knowledge so powerful? Just by mastering gravity, you can learn to jump in space. After mastering gravity, you can start using your electromagnetic gun. Damn it! This electromagnetic gun, at least it has one hit from the golden core cultivator, right? One blow, destroying the world. This Chang'an is so terrifying. His current strength is still in the category of a warrior, at most a master level warrior. However, now, after controlling gravity, he can use his hand to rub an electromagnetic gun. What the hell? Kao and Kao, the two together are so terrifying. Chang'an is like this now. In the future, when he cultivates immortality, won't it be even more contrary to heaven? Horrible, absolutely terrible. Is this Chang'an? Is this abominable? So scary. It's really terrifying, it's simply unbelievable. This Chang'an, I'm so pissed off. Once you master the knowledge, everything else comes at your fingertips. At this time, Countless people looked at what was happening on the screen in shock. Chen Ang's growth rate is so fast, it's simply terrifying. Before, they thought that Chen Ang was just showing off his martial arts, seeing through other people's martial arts at a glance, and recording other people's martial arts. This was enough to defy the heavens, but they didn't expect that Chen Ang could also learn how to jump through space when others did so. It's like, no matter what discipline or ability, as long as he has the foundation, he can derive it. This is truly terrifying. As for the master of illusion in the picture, countless people once again looked at the great Dao gold list. Chen Ang smiled, took a step forward, and then his face began to twist again, appearing like a professor. Difference. Professor X said, but his voice belonged to Magneto. Professor, they rely on their own feelings to understand and observe the world. This real cognition is so fragile. Their thoughts and cognition all rely on this fragile and ridiculous wrong sense. Chen Ang smiled and nodded yes, shaping a person's inner world is exactly the information he receives. This information comes from the embodied senses of human beings. We understand the world and shape our personality precisely from what we see. The information center I heard is gradually improving. Information can shape a person, and conversely, information can also destroy a person. If he is smart enough. Chen Ang paused, then looked at the guy in front of him and smiled. Jason, you are a smart man, so you are a master of illusion, not a senseless manipulator. You are so right. Jason smiled crazily. I am the master of fantasy manipulation, I am the master of psychological manipulation, I shape those people into what I want to see, I am their master. However, looking at Chen Ang, Jason paused and said with emotion, you are a unique person. Among all the people I have met, you are the only one who uses these strange things to perceive the world. I think you know me, you should know me, my father, is also a fool. He tried to shape me into a weapon to control me, but there is a question, who created his extremes, his madness, and his ridiculous thoughts? Chen Ang narrowed his eyes, and then said calmly, it's you. With his madness and anxiety, his hatred and extremes, he is your most successful work. You must be very satisfied, because you did not manipulate a person, but created a personality. Ha ha ha, not bad, not bad. At this moment, Jason smiled crazily, as if he finally saw his confidant. It's wonderful. Talent is the most beautiful work of art, great, despicable, infatuated, unforgettable, he is my most perfect work of art, his madness, his paranoia, incompatible with this world, but, this is the greatest artwork. These things are the work of God, and I, a great artist, participated in the shaping process. He is my father, he gave me life, he created me. But, I am his father, I recreated him and shaped him. What a cycle per second. Jason looked at his hands and was a little crazy for a moment. These words are simply outrageous. My father is my father, but I am my father's father. Good guy. This Jason is already crazy. It's not cool. Immediately after, he waved his hand again, with a stern look on his face, grabbed the sun, and shouted in a low voice, I am the sun. At this moment, as his words fell, Chen Ang saw that the sun suddenly melted. The sun fell and merged with Jason, becoming a golden man with no face or outline. Seemingly real and illusory, both false and true, the brain in the vat is the master of illusion. Chen Ang suddenly sighed. I thought you were a scientist, but I didn't expect you to be just an artist. To be honest, Chen Ang was a little disappointed. Although Jason had developed his abilities in depth, it was completely different from what he expected. The master of illusion in his imagination was a calm and objective psychologist. The man who manipulates human nature, the criminal master, through the study of human heart and human nature, shapes people and destroys people. But he doesn't think that this Jason is just a madman who treats supernatural powers as poison. He is crazy, he is crazy. He takes these things for granted. He used his abilities crazily and did not study the mysteries of the human brain at all. He just used his madness and chaos to infect others. Sure enough, people cannot play art. Once they engage in art, they will be at least half crazy. Looking back at philosophy, that whole person is crazy. Jason, your take is interesting, it's just a pity. Chen Ang said lightly, if this is the only level, you can be called the fantasy clown, but you are not worthy of the title of Master of Illusion. As soon as these words came out, Jason fell silent, and immediately looked at Chen Ang with a gloomy face. He said coldly, I thought you could appreciate my art, but now it seems that you are only worthy of being my art. Following Jason's words, he seemed to be a god who could control the world. In an instant, this space underwent earth-shaking changes. Brimstone and fire filled the world. The violent high temperature scorches everything, even the earth. However, Chen Ang just raised his head and looked at everything with a calm face. He turned a blind eye to the deep darkness of countless madness around him. That scorching face, the scorching high temperature, and all the illusions that seemed to be real could not arouse the slightest reaction from Chen Ang. It was as if in his eyes, all of this didn't exist at all. He walked resolutely in one direction. At this moment, Jason's voice suddenly rang out, very different. How did you overcome your subconscious? Although everything he used was all fantasy, it was still there is no way to control a person's body. However, most of people's sudden things are accomplished by the subconscious mind. Even if they realize that it is an illusion, the subconscious mind will still deceive themselves, making them feel pain and stimulation, and the body will be out of control. I felt pain, and then spontaneously began to have difficulty breathing. Fantasy can kill people. Consciousness can also kill people. However, Chen Ang was not controlled by his subconscious mind at all. He didn't care about the magma at all, and stepped up to the sky, letting the world change. His body was fine. This is not normal. Very abnormal. However, Chen Ang just smiled and said, I don't have a subconscious. Impossible. It is impossible for human beings to have no subconscious mind. Jason is a little unbelievable and absolutely does not believe Chen Ang's words. The subconscious is the foundation for him to control everything and the cornerstone of his illusions. If a person does not have the subconscious, then he, the master of illusions, will not work. It means failure. He can accept his own death, but he absolutely cannot accept his failure. It's just that. Nothing is impossible. Chen Ang said lightly, once your consciousness can control your body, control your breathing, reactions, process complex information, and even control those complicated biological instincts, does the subconscious mind still need to exist? However, the human heart is very interesting. There are some ideological things, subconscious information. Chen Ang said, and soon, he waved his hand gently, and the world plunged into darkness again. How is this possible? How do you control this world? Jason screamed. His tone was full of disbelief. Damn it! This is obviously a fantasy world he created, but why can the guy in front of him control it? Damn it, is it fake? However, Chen Ang ignored it at all. The next second, the world became bright again, and everything returned to reality. Look at Jason again. Jason in reality, he's just a thin young man with a pale face. Jason looked at Chen Ang in horror. In the human subconscious, there is a collection of information such as concepts. What are concepts made of? Chen Ang looked at Jason and smiled. It is a concept made up of some attributes that people feel, such as color, weight, shape, smell, touch, texture, etc. However, in places we can't see, no matter how real the world is, there will always be huge truth. Jason? He. Chen Ang smiled. Our concept of things and our understanding of them are only a real aspect. Obviously, Jason, you are trying to control my brain, but in the field of the brain, you are still far behind. I can only use your concepts to describe my world. Now, let me let you take a look at the world in my eyes and my understanding of the world. Asking for flowers 0. Chen-Ang said, and gently pointed on Jason's head. In an instant, Jason's mind was filled with endless information. At first, Jason was just stunned, and then, ah 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 ah. His scream suddenly sounded, endless information impacted in his mind, and his brain throbbed. He seemed to see the infinite expansion of the world, saw the warped gravitational folds, and saw the twisted space all over. In the whole world. He saw the earth condensed into a small point, and then expanded infinitely. Every inch of space was in that point, and it was everywhere. At this moment, there was a storm of information. How could anyone else understand Chen-Ang's brain? How about understanding Chen-Ang's world? Chen-Ang's brain development is close to 40%, which makes him a godlike man. He can receive all information that ordinary people cannot receive. He can see the world that normal people see. But the world that he can see, normal people can't see at all. Although Jason is a master of illusion, he is still just a normal person. At this time, the illusory in the illusion space, countless strange fluctuations are reacting. Electromagnetic waves are suspended in the sky. Under the leadership of Chen-Ang, Jason can see everything and the information carried on the electromagnetic waves. Jason can even see strange things one by one. The lives of human beings live in the same space, in the same world as the people on Earth, but they have no way to influence each other, and they cannot detect each other. One by one, wandering creatures pass through the body of a person on Earth, and the two are not aware of it at all. Countless. The world, at this moment, seems to be overlapping, and it seems like the world should be like this. Amazing, right? Chen-Ang chuckled. Visible light waves are electromagnetic waves of 0.3 to 3 microns, infrared rays, and ultraviolet rays. They are a world that humans can never touch. However, they can still be observed with instruments, but the world that humans understand is only less than 3/10,000ths. And the world I see has expanded 100 times beyond what humans can notice. Electromagnetic waves can be seen, radiation can be seen, space can be seen, and gravity can of course be seen. There are also countless worlds that cannot be detected at all. These undiscoverable worlds have another name, dark matter. This is the world in my eyes, this is the concept in my eyes. If you want to deceive me, please don't deceive my senses with pictures that are piled with low-end attributes and look like a pixel game. Chen-Ang said. Jason almost vomited blood. A critical hit. This is definitely a critical hit. He wanted to refute, but looking at everything in front of him, he was speechless. Just this information, he received everything was extremely reluctant, and what Chen-Ang said seemed to be the truth. At this time, Chen-Ang raised his palm and chuckled. A ball of air appeared in his palm, and then, a little blue gradually expanded. Color. As he spoke, the blue air mass in his palm began to become thicker or shallower. Shape, Chen-Ang said again. Then, the blue air mass turned into the outline of a flower. Quality, Chen-Ang said again, and then, the blue flower fell on Chen-Ang's palm. Texture, Chen-Ang handed the blue flower to Jason, and Jason took it subconsciously, and then felt an almost real touch. Temperature, Chen-Ang said again, and then, Jason felt that life seemed to appear in the flower, and there was a breath of real life. Sound, after Chen-Ang finished speaking, the wind blew again, and the petals began to fly. Odor, the fragrance of flowers begins to spread. Smell, Jason picked off a piece of flower in a daze and chewed it carefully. Then, the bitter taste filled the tip of his tongue, just like the real thing. There are also things you can't see, hear, or touch, Chen-Ang said again, but Jason didn't notice any difference in the flowers. Just as Chang'an said, he couldn't see, hear, or touch, so he couldn't see the change. Is what you see real? The concept of sensory stacking and the attributes of things. Human beings live in a world of senses. They are easily deceived, easily changed, and easily controlled. Chang'an said, in an instant, the sun rose slowly, and the moon also rose into the sky at this moment. The moon and the sun appear in the sky at the same time. This is not the sunset or early morning when the sun and the moon are on the same sky, but half of it is night, and usually the sun and the moon are on the same sky during the day. Impossible, impossible, Jason went crazy, completely crazy. He looked at all this in confusion. He, the master of illusion. In terms of fantasy, he was completely crushed by Chang'an. I deceived your eyes, your ears, your senses, your understanding of the world, and even your superpowers. I created your world and changed your personality. Chang'an's voice sounded faintly. I am the master of illusion. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 236. At this time, all X weapons are destroyed. Even in the eyes of the outside world, the fight between XG and Chang'an lasted only 3 to 5 minutes. Deadpool was at the lower limit at the beginning, then the Earth King, Colossus, and finally Jason. From the outside world, Jason was pointed on the head before he even did anything. Then, he crawled at Chang'an's feet and cried bitterly. Chang'an sat on the throne and collected some body tissue from the Colossus, and then collected some blood and fluids from the Earth King, Deadpool. But he would not let go of any blood data samples. Then, the throne suddenly opened a door, inside which were neatly placed various precision instruments. These 5X devices were just caught and thrown inside, and the door slammed shut. He plans to study Colossus-activated metal cells, Earth King's cellular magnetic field, Illusion Master's noisy secretions, Deadpool's amazingly vital cancer cells, and the fluid-simulated cells. Of course, all of this is given to the high technology of the Star Wars world. In his opinion, only Star Wars technology can achieve this, and Earth's technology is not good enough. And the research on living metal cells was somewhat beyond Chang'an's expectations. Very smooth. It went really smoothly. The nanorobots, metal viruses, and iron-based cosmic life in the Star Wars world. These knowledge and technologies were all used by Chang'an to control this kind of metal cells. A bit of silver-gray metal life appeared under Chang'an's test bench. Behind him, countless test benches were working under the control of gravity. The 5 X-ray machines were sent to the injection table, and the red medicine was injected into their bodies bit by bit. These 5 people have been controlled by Chang'an, so he doesn't care at all about injecting potions into them to let their abilities evolve. I promise your cooperation. Suddenly, the professor's words rang out in Chang'an's heart. Chang'an paused for a moment, then chuckled. You won't regret it? Hope, the professor sighed. After a long time, the professor's voice stopped. Chang'an didn't take this to heart, he just looked at the 5X weapons that were injected with the drug. All his medicines and the source of everything are based on Swillen. Blood orchid has 2 characteristics, evolution and immortality. The giant pythons that devoured blood orchids each lived for at least 200 years, and some even lived for thousands of years. Even the ancient titanoboa genes were found in the giant python. Blood orchid seems to have activated this part of the gene, allowing the giant pythons to begin to evolve. But this is not evolution. What is evolution? Evolution is about bringing forth the new from the old, not returning to the ancestors. But after all, it can be regarded as some kind of evolution, and it is true among animals. Therefore, the blood orchid potion was divided into two parts. Part of it is an evolution potion, and part of it is a longevity potion. The elixir of longevity is the development of the mild medicinal properties of blood orchid. The evolutionary potion is to complicate and maximize the effects of genetic optimization and change. Evolution potions are very complicated, but they are not like giant pythons. You can do whatever you want by going back to your ancestors. The road to evolution is far more full of variables and unknowns than the way you go back to your ancestors. Evolution may be a change in genes or physical characteristics. Survival of the fittest is evolution. It is possible that the next stage of human evolution will be to grow a few more arms, or it may be to grow a third eye on the forehead. In short, everything is possible. But Chang'an doesn't want to be like this, and similarly, he doesn't have to be like this. Because he can control his whole body, even at the genetic level. Therefore, he injected himself with the evolutionary medicine, controlled his whole body, and controlled all genetic changes. In the end, he gained the ability to control gravity. Of course, this gravity control is actually related to brain development. Real evolution shouldn't be like this. Real evolution should be about temperature control and environmental adaptation, because this is the survival of the fittest and the evolution of the human body. Of course, that doesn't mean that he didn't get something else from the evolution potion. At least, in terms of physical data, he got a comprehensive enhancement. Speed, strength, and senses have almost reached biological limits. But this is still not enough. Therefore, Chang'an needs more materials to be studied, to observe more changes. These 5X devices are his materials. Chang'an set his sights on the stealers. At this time, due to the effect of the medicine, the metal on the steel man's skin began to tremble, like water waves, squirming and trembling, and a completely new change was taking place in his body. What Chang'an saw was that the chromosomes of the cells in the steel man's body suddenly collapsed. Under the influence of the drug, they were rapidly reorganized. Some useless genes also changed during this recombination process. Some brand new gene fragments began to play a role. Chang'an controlled the test bench, providing nutrients and metal materials to the stealers, promoting the continuous occurrence of this change. The war started inside the body of Colossus, and the complexly changing cells were constantly reorganizing genes, increasing in value and growing crazily. The surface of the steel man's body bulges visibly to the naked eye. Red heat radiated from the cracks in his skin, and the surrounding metal quickly melted into his body. The different metal components of some cell nuclei combined to form completely new metal cells. Crazy new alloys were born in the body of Colossus, and then were quickly eliminated. Many brand new alloy cells with physical properties that would drive materials scientists crazy were quickly eliminated, leaving only the metal cells that are most adapted to the human body. Countless metal cells were born, evolved, and eliminated. Incredible materials appeared rapidly, such as superconducting metal cells with no resistance, lava metal cells with extremely strong thermal conductivity, gravity-free metal cells with their own magnetic fields, physics at room temperature liquid metal cells with the most excellent properties. It can be said that this kind of change is evolution. Chang'an's kind of evolution is only limited to a certain range. The real evolution is explained here by the stealers. Various cells were born either accidentally or naturally. Then, Chang'an extracted samples, and then quickly disappeared. At the same time, almost billions of metal cells evolved. Most of them were ordinary waste, but this evolution was so fast. Under the huge base, many materials sciences still appeared. Miracle on. Each has the potential to transform human technology. However, they are still dying silently. Only Chang'an recorded it all. Even he may not be able to replicate some of the precious samples he preserved. The research on the stealers alone brought Chang'an a surprise. There are so many changes and the potential is endless. Chen Ang looked at Gang Gren's research report. At this time, Gang Gren's superpowers had no secrets left in front of him. He even only needs to mix some specific oxidants to turn the steel man into rust. Time passed quickly. At this time, Chen Ang devoted himself wholeheartedly to research, and seemed to have forgotten his joke about destroying the world. As he researched, his understanding of the world became clearer and clearer. At the same time, his research results are becoming more and more amazing. At this time, he had a ball of metal squirming in his hand, displaying many incredible abilities. Some abilities even subvert the laws of physics. However, this thing seems normal in this world. This is not a world where the laws of physics are so firm. The rules of the universe are being disturbed anytime and anywhere. Therefore, it seems that such a ball of liquid metal appears on your hand. Very normal. His gravity was only 5 kilograms in the previous world. But in this world, his gravity has even increased by 2,000 times. The world is different, the laws are different, and the things that come out are different. In other worlds, if he wants to build something, he must have a big project. But in this world, he wants to simulate the gravity well of the Star Wars world, and he only needs to use his gravity control ability to do it. It's incredible. Moreover, the gravity well he simulated can also affect the Earth's gravity. Tisk, this thing. Chen Ang looked at the liquid metal on his hand. There was more and more liquid metal. After the first drop, there was the second drop and the third drop. Then, countless liquid metals gathered together to form a human-shaped skeleton, with dense metal threads spreading on the skeleton. In just a few seconds, a complete robot appeared in front of Chen Ang. Liquid robot. If this thing were placed in the world, it would definitely shock the whole world. It's a pity that this liquid robot has high energy requirements and lacks the ability to self-replicate. So, Chen Ang thought, and recorded various scientific and technological information in the mechanical life in a coded form. Soon, you can see that there is a drop of liquid dripping from the liquid robot. The liquid fell on the steel, self-replicating and self-reproducing. They built various machines to draw energy from the surrounding electromagnetic fields, just like viruses, self-replicating and spreading. They copy various technologies and even research them. Develop the technological genes in your body. Chen Ang witnessed with his own eyes that a few steel cells, with sufficient replication capabilities, developed from the steam era to the internal combustion engine era in just one afternoon. If you can copy it if you have energy and raw materials, it's nothing. But if there is no energy and no raw materials, then self-exploitation, self-development, and using science to deal with everything will be terrible. Because Chen Ang personally intervened in all this. When he cut off the energy supply, these steel cells automatically evolved into solar panels and hydroelectric generators. Learn and evolve. If this thing were put on the Earth would be destroyed within 10 days. These liquid metals are developing so fast, much faster than any nanotechnology. In the end, most of this very biological metal life was destroyed by Chen Ang, leaving only a few samples for collection. However, speaking of nanorobots, Chen Ang made another nanorobot with the thought, countless nanorobots. Gathering into an ocean, they are connected to each other by weak electromagnetic waves, and the vague group will is carved into numerous programs by Chen Ang. The previous liquid metal was named by him, metal virus. After learning the lesson from the last time, Chen Ang did not develop anything too dangerous this time, he just wrote a vague intelligent program. In addition, many restrictions have been set up to limit these opportunities that can only develop on their own. Anyway, in his opinion, this nanorobot is not considered a mainstream robot in the Star Wars world, and it does not cause much harm. It's enough to use it. If you use metal viruses, it may hit the world to the point of collapse, which would be bad. When it comes to being a demon king, he certainly has experience. If you want to squeeze the whole world, you have to let the world see hope and let the world see the dawn. Otherwise, the pressure is too heavy, it is really despairing, and it may fail in the end. This is a must. Therefore, we have to use nanorobots. Soon, those nanorobots built countless complex structures. They copied themselves and felt the rigid machine program. Call you a robot collective consciousness. At this time, Cheng was tinkering with the robot. Meanwhile, on the other side, inside the Charles Xavier Academy for the Gifted. Boom, 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 there was a knock on the professor's office suddenly. At this time, the bald professor, who was sitting in a wheelchair, was still looking at the huge steel building in the direction of Manhattan, and with the knock on the door, he came back to his senses. A look on his face, he showed a warm smile again and spoke. 1.1 Come in. With a squeak sound, the door was pushed open. And the guy who pushed the door open, was a ragged and scarred guy. Moreover, he was a bit vicissitudes of life, as if he had experienced the baptism of time. That was Wolverine Logan. Logan, what's going on? The professor frowned and looked at the changed Logan. Logan looked like he had just walked out of the battlefield. His clothes were ragged and he still smelled of gunpowder smoke. The most important thing is that Logan's right arm, the original flesh and blood body, was replaced by a dim metal organ at this moment. From the elbow down, everything was replaced by a metal arm. What is it that prevents a guy with extremely strong self-healing power from recovering? Then use metal arm instead. What happened? What happened? The professor instinctively wanted to explore Logan's current situation, but he still held back. At this time, the battle-damaged version of Logan put down the words in his mouth. Cigar looked at the professor and smiled. You have become younger. However, this. As he said that, Logan raised his metal arm and said with a smile, this is not an injury, I voluntarily transformed it into this. As for why, you can enter my brain and take a look. You. The professor opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but seeing what Logan looked like now, his expression changed. Finally, he nodded and gently pressed his fingers on his temples. Immediately, his expression changed violently. The changes. His eyes couldn't hide the shock. The shock of the pictures made him unable to recover. After a long time, he slowly exhaled and looked at Logan. After a moment of silence, he said, welcome back, Logan. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 237. At this time, countless people in the world looked at what happened in the picture. They were all stunned for a moment, and soon it triggered countless discussions. Good guy, reborn. This Logan is actually a reborn person. Worry, have the reborn ones come to deal with old Mo Chen? Laughing to death, can the reborn person deal with old Demon Chen? However, this Wolverine seems to be a reborn person. Traveled from the future? What about physical time travel? Cowhide. So, what about the Wolverine of this world? It's crazy to me, are there really reborn people? So, what exactly happened to Wolverine Logan in the future? You want to modify your arm. Tisk tisk, even though I saw it in confusion, now I can just call it awesome. Take a 9 alone. Walk a 9 alone? Why 9 instead of 6? Because 6 turned over. It's so funny, you are all talented, right? Tisk, as expected, only in this kind of world can reborn people appear. Now that the reborn people have appeared, is it time for the time travelers to appear as well? Well, the reborn person, Wolverine Logan, the time traveler Dr. Chen, I am sure. Laughing to death. At this time, countless people were discussing, watching everything that happened in the picture, and sighing with emotion. However, countless people were more curious and wanted to know what this Logan had experienced. They looked at the Dao Gold list one by one, and they became more and more attentive. Get up. At this time, you can see that in the picture, along with the discussion between Logan and the professor, soon, countless people in the world finally know what happened. Yes, just as everyone thought, Logan. He was able to come back because the Phantom Cat opened the time and space tunnel. The future Professor X only left one sentence to his young self. Believe him. So, the professor believed Logan. Because that was what the future told him about him. It was a conversation that spanned countless years. As Logan told it, he soon told all about his future experiences. Read it again. In the future, Chang'an will bring 5 things to the world, namely, plague, war, death, famine, and doomsday. The apocalypse was brought about by the Sentinel robots. The Sentinel robots kept massacring mutants, but in the end, they lost control and not only massacred mutants, but also ordinary people. In fact, this is not a loss of control, just because the Sentry robot detected that ordinary people also have the X gene in their bodies, which means that ordinary people may also awaken the X gene and become mutants. Killing the mutants means killing everyone. There is nothing wrong with this logic, so the Sentry robots began an indiscriminate massacre. This has become the so-called loss of control. As for Chang'an, sorry, the Sentry robot can't deal with Chang'an at all, and there's nothing that can be done to him. Therefore, in order to deal with Chang'an, those guys began to strengthen the power of the Sentry robot. They captured Mystique and used Mystique's genes to transfer the superpowers to the Sentinel robots, so that the Sentinel robots could even transform into corresponding abilities. Do you have fire elemental abilities? Okay, then I will turn into water and high temperature resistant metal. You have the ice element, can you control ice? Okay, then I will turn into fire, the high temperature will be blazing, and it will kill you to death. What? You said that your whole body can be made of metal and your defense is invincible? Sorry, I will turn into a harder metal. In short, the abilities of mutants are really defeated by the Sentinel robot. But, it still doesn't work. Because, as soon as the gene bank was established, Chang'an knew everything, raided there, and stole all the genes. And later, there was the so-called doomsday, the doomsday brought by the Sentry robots, which began to attack everyone. It was not until this time that mutants and humans united, just like real family members, and no one mentioned the past. The fault. And the professor, led the ex-police, went to Manhattan, opened a ruins, and released Skynet. Skynet is an artificial intelligence, or machine collective consciousness program. At that time, this thing was still the best weapon for mankind. By injecting liquid metal cells into the spine, you can form your own super metal, which can be controlled through magnetic induction. And that's what the metal arm on Logan's hand looks like. The metal arm can be turned into a variety of different weapons, whether it is a throwing knife, a firearm, a javelin, or even an electromagnetic gun, which can be assembled. Skynet, also called War. He was once the savior of mankind. Because he had no consciousness, humans could manipulate him as they pleased. Mutants, humans, and Skynet's robots defeated the Sentinels. But just like that, ambition emerged. ZF wants to control Skynet. Then Skynet became self-aware and he woke up. Although Skynet and the Sentinel robots are still in a state of hostility, Skynet does not mind wiping out humans. Skynet created the Terminator, and together with the Sentinel robots, destroyed human society. Then, Logan came here, reversed time and space, and traveled through the future. Logan knows a lot of things. He knows that Skynet was built by Chang'an, and he also knows that those nanorobots are made from the cells of Colossus, using advanced technology to create self-replicating nanorobots, and then using the brain of Master of Illusion as a prototype, imitating the hive consciousness of nanorobots. After Chang'an obtained Magneto's genes, the more critical energy problem was solved. As long as the Earth still has a magnetic field, the energy will be endless. As long as there are raw materials, nanorobots can copy themselves infinitely. Therefore, all that needs to be done now is to prevent Chang'e from obtaining Magneto's genes. He is here to reverse the future. However, Skynet also sent the Terminator, who also traveled through time and space and came to this era with him. Their time is running out. Never mind. Just stop ZF from making it. As long as these are solved, the problem will not be big. At this time, countless people in all the world saw the scene and suddenly realized. Good guy, what Chang'e created at random actually destroyed the world. Pushing mutants to this point. Cowhide, can only be said to be incredible. Connected, everything connected. Tisk tisk, this Chang'e is truly incredible. This is just a nanorobot. If Chang'e releases the metal virus, tisk, will the Earth be useless? It's normal for them to be cornered by a nanorobot, let alone a metal virus. That thing requires no raw materials or energy to replicate itself. Once placed on the Earth, it will be an absolutely devastating blow. Horrible, so terrible. I don't know what Wolverine and the Professor would think if they knew that this nanorobot was specially designed by Chang'e to reduce difficulty. Now I want to know, how will the Professor and Wolverine react when they see the metal virus? What other reaction could there be? Tired, destroy it, hurry up. Ha ha ha. At this time, countless people were discussing and sighing. And at this moment, the screen flashed. On the other side, Chang'e was still testing metal. It was a six-sided Rubik's Cube. The Rubik's Cube began to rotate, and the modules of the Rubik's Cube increased little by little. After a while, it grew 10 times. The original 4-4 cube suddenly became a 16-16 Rubik's Cube. The key point is that this is not over yet. The Rubik's Cube was quickly spread out again, each small module was being decomposed, and countless small modules were continuously combined. Finally, the outline of a floating positron cannon was suspended in the air, and finally gradually took shape. The fort is as big as a room. The structure is tight, and the details are like the ultimate mathematical beauty. It is hard to imagine that before, it was just a palm-sized Rubik's Cube. At this time, Skynet's mechanical and electronic sound slowly sounded. The structure of the space metal module is the floating positron cannon type I. The space expansion volume ratio is 1:100,000. It meets the design parameters. Is it charging the positron cannon? No. Chang'e directly rejected it, and he took back the thing again. In the end, the huge positron cannon turned into a Rubik's Cube again and fell into his hands. This is his newly developed space metal. Studying these things in this world, the advantage is really too great. In other worlds, not to mention the difficulties, at least it would not be so fast. But now, the research has come out. Things that are 100,000 meters can be compressed by him to 1 meter. This kind of space metal is simply unbelievable. Of course, this is either a space prop or a space metal. Compressible space metal. He is just to ensure that he can bring more things during the journey. Because during the journey, the space changes, it can destroy almost everything. Only things protected by supernatural powers can pass through the space tunnel, like close-fitting clothing. Slightly larger things will not work. Now, he has taken out the space metal, so, he can bring more things. At this moment, the screen turned. In the screen, it was Deadpool, Master of Illusion, Colossus, Fluid, and the King of Earth launching the second attack on Chang'e. Counterattack. Obviously, because they fell into the hands of Chang'e for the first time, and because Chang'e allowed them to evolve their abilities, they swelled and wanted to regain their position. It was a pity. Chang'e knew their abilities too well, and everything we all know it. Just a little something can turn Colossus into a dregs, just a little thing can make the Earth King unable to move, and just a little thing can make Master Illusion burst into tears. Chang'an understands them too well. When he understands clearly after their superpowers, they would not pose any threat to Chang'an. So, he let them go. And when they were defeated for the second time, they were even more horrified and desperate. There was no other way but to follow Chang'an. Under Chang'an's torture, they knew that only by following Chang'an could they avoid being destroyed. With these subordinates running errands, Chang'an would not have to do some things personally. Talk to the president first, say hello to the husband, shave his hair, provocation. If you want to play, play big. It's just a small fight now. These people have no sense of urgency at all. However, at this moment, an old man in a wheelchair appeared opposite Chang'an. Professor X. Of course, this is just the projection of Professor. Method. Chen. Ang chuckled, will you continue to be a superhero and fight crime, but people will only remember the pain caused by mutants. The professor was silent. Mutants were once the pride of evolution, but unfortunately, 607 is now just the outcast of society. Chen. Ang said lightly, the difference between humans and animals lies in society, economy, culture, industry, technology, and creativity, and what about mutants? Most of them live at the bottom and think with their muscles and fists. Your social form is closer to advocating strength and having a clear hierarchy, well, a group of animals. Just a bunch of talking animals. The professor opened his mouth, his face a little gray. Forgive me for speaking so directly, Chang'an sighed. But you are right. The professor sighed, we have not adapted to this society. If we have superpowers, what is the difference between us and a group of monkeys with superpowers, no achievements or contributions to society? Superpowers should be your third hand, your unparalleled talent. You should learn, create, explore, and use it to develop your own wisdom and contribute to the progress of mankind instead of being obsessed with power. It looks like evolution, but in fact, in society, it is degeneration. Chang'an said, and said quietly, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Cherish your talents and develop your wisdom. Mutants could have become more outstanding, instead of a group of lunatics who only know destruction. The professor pursed his lips and said, this is also my belief and my persistence. I have always asked the X-Men to use their own power to help others. We integrate into human beings and make our contribution. So we are not from the same place. You look forward to peace, but I look forward to progress. Chang'an said calmly, I hope that one day, you will use your abilities to explore the unknown and nature. You will use your wisdom to develop your abilities and let your powers become your third hand, third eye, and second brain. Liberate your creativity, that is the world I look forward to and strive for. However, ordinary people will still fear us and blindly promote social progress, which will only bring destruction. Believe me, I am absolutely certain of this, the professor suddenly said excitedly. Oh? You mean, the news Wolverine brought back? Chang'an suddenly looked at the professor playfully. You know, the professor was stunned. The smile on Chang'an's face became more and more playful, and finally he uttered three words, believe him. You. The professor's pupils shrank suddenly, and his fists tightened and loosened, and then tightened again. Finally, he took a long breath and said bitterly, I always thought that these words made me believe in Logan, but I don't understand until now. This sentence should be about you. Now, I finally understand. It's not the Phantom Cat that will be with Logan later, but you. The Phantom Cat can only do mind travel. Since it is mind travel, Logan can. It's impossible to bring back the liquid metal arm unless. He murmured, and Chang'an took over the words directly, unless someone gives him a pair, and that person can only be me. Yes, it is me who made Logan travel through time and space. And, it's not just Wolverine, the reborn from the future, and more. Chen Ang looked at the professor with faint eyes. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 238. Reborn. At this moment, everyone was staring blankly at the conversation between Chen Ang and the professor on the Dao Dao Gold List screen, and then their scalps went numb. Damn it, was that Wolverine brought back by Chen Ang? I'm so numb, a reborn person? Was this reborn person created by Chen Ang? Whoa, it's against the heavens, it's so against the heavens. Good guy, it makes me scared to see this Chen Ang, he is really defiant. And there's more than one reborn person? Are there any other reborns? Others use rebirth as a golden finger, but Chen Ang directly creates rebirth? Damn, I was so stunned. Good guy, the reborn person is the son of destiny who controls the whole world, and the existence that stirs up the storm. As a result, in this world, the reborn person turned out to be the existence created by Chen Ang, tisk tisk. At this time, countless people were discussing, sighing, and looking at everything that happened in the picture. They were all in a daze. They all are like this, let alone the professor. At this time, Professor X was dumbfounded. Reborn. It was actually Chen Ang who did it? Who the hell is listening to this? Immediately afterwards, everyone saw that Chen Ang began to destroy the financial system and destroy banks again. Money. Currency. Sorry, these things are just a burden to this world. Without burdens, the world can progress and human beings can move forward. This is what he wants. The Federal Reserve Bank fell, and a large amount of financial information inside was burned. Hundreds of tons of gold were shipped away, and the financial system suffered a severe blow. Other areas were also attacked by Skynet. During this month, the bodies of bankers who committed suicide could be connected from the street to the end of the street. At this point, mutants all over the world, and even capable beings, have been recruited to fight against Chen Ang and Apocalypse. I don't know if it will be useful, but at least there is hope. That hope is called unity. It seems that they now believe that only unity can fight against Chen Ang, and only unity can defeat Chen Ang. Chen Ang didn't take it to heart. Because, at this time, a guest came to his place. Boss, what are you thinking about? Deadpool came up from behind Chen Ang and said with a strange smile. At this time, the nanorobots under Chen Ang's feet reorganized and lifted him high into the sky. Chen Ang stared into the distance, staring at Manhattan, which is now in ruins. Chen Ang glanced looking at Deadpool, he said nothing. Deadpool raised his eyebrows and smiled. Boss, you have been with the king for more than 10 hours. I think you urgently need a woman, otherwise you will become a robot, even if you lift the skin and say it's an alien hiding on Earth, I won't be surprised. Chen Ang looked at the sea in the distance. After a long time, he said lightly, do you know? Deadpool stopped talking to me like this a long time ago. If you want to disguise yourself, your iris and voice print will certainly not reveal you, but do you know how many indicators the human body has that you don't know about? Deadpool's eyes flashed, and then he smiled and said, how many kinds? Body temperature, step distance, mass, density, brain waves, and quantum effects of the human body can be said to be countless. It's easy to imitate someone, because people always look at their faces, but it's hard to be someone else. Most people won't notice these things, but I'm not an ordinary person, Chen Ang said lightly. Deadpool was silent for a while, and soon, blue stripes suddenly appeared on his body. Soon, he changed back to his original appearance, and asked with a smile, what now? At this time, his weight, his height, and his body precision, they all fit Deadpool's look perfectly. Even some small actions and habits are exactly the same. However, in front of Chen Ang, there were still many loopholes. Even if he even imitated the brain waves, in his eyes, there were still too many incongruities. You're awesome, but it's no use. Chen Ang said, the world in my eyes is different from yours. In my eyes, you are as ridiculous as a rabbit imitating a frog. Deadpool looked at Chen Ang for a moment, and finally gave up. Then, he turned into a woman with blue skin and burgundy hair. This is of course the Mystique. Mystique smiled and said, I can't tell the difference either. I have no idea whether what you said is true or not, but since you recognized it, let's just say you won. What? Are you frightened by my appearance? No, it's beautiful. Chen Ang praised, full of scientific mystery and beauty. Is this how you praise girls? Mystique raised her eyebrows. Chen Ang smiled. At this time, Mystique said, Magneto values you very much. She came with a mission, and naturally she wasn't joking with Chen Ang. Just listen to her continue. He thinks you are the future of mutants. Oh, Magneto. Chen Ang nodded and didn't care. So what about Magneto? Perhaps in the eyes of the Brotherhood, Magneto is a leader, great, noble, and respectable. However, in Chen Ang's eyes, this Magneto, it's just a codename for a guinea pig. He even has Magneto's special equipment, lab coats, experimental materials, etc. in his research room. Of course, the same goes for Mystique. He has already prepared everything, all he needed was the personnel in place. That's why Mystique didn't attack him, otherwise, he would have thrown her into the laboratory long ago. At this time, Mystique saw Chen Ang's absent-minded look, and felt a little bit in her heart. Angry, he said coldly, you are also a mutant. You should know that no matter how powerful you are, you will always be a monster in the eyes of humans. You will never want to live an ordinary life. No matter how powerful you are, you will always be a monster excluded from the fringes of society. Being used, being hostile, being insulted. What you said makes sense, but... Chen Ang said, first of all, why should I live an ordinary life? Secondly, I am not a mutant. Don't talk to me about dreams, my dreams are different from your dreams. What you have to do now is to show the value of the fraternity, instead of trying to recruit me into it. Chen Ang looked at Mystique with a calm face. Mystique frowned. This was the first time she saw someone who didn't even recognize her identity as a mutant. Are you not a mutant? Then what are you? You are obviously a strong man, you should be proud of your identity as a mutant, but Chen Ang. Perhaps, Chen Ang has some cognitive biases. She has also seen people like this. In the past, some people join the Brotherhood, there will be a certain degree of rejection, but after truly recognizing their own value, they will all feel proud. She believes that Chen Ang is the same. So, she said, mutants are the future of mankind, the new human race. We are the pride of evolution and the future masters of the earth. We will definitely eliminate humans and become the real masters of the world. Superpowers are abilities and wealth, just like apes have brains, hands, and tools, they eliminated their ancestors and became humans. Our future, like our ancestors, is a new humanity, the future. Ordinary people are jealous of us. Human beings only work for us because we are the future and we will eliminate them. Mutant identity is pride, and brotherhood is the hope for mutants to unite and move toward the future. Chen Ang listened calmly, and after a long time, he sighed. Did Magneto learn this in the concentration camp? A replica of racial discrimination? Xiao shaped him, why not teach him to be smarter? Chen Ang thought, and the next second, nanorobots formed a screen, and inside, a mustache was playing. Just listen, the mustache said affectionately and excitedly. There are only two possibilities for the war between mutants and humans, either humans will step on our corpses, or we will step on human corpses. If someone says, just dream, I can only answer him, you idiot. If I hadn't been a dreamer, where would we be today? I have always believed in mutants, and you say I am a dreamer. I have always believed that mutants will rise, You call me a fool. I always believed we could regain our rights. Are you calling me crazy? I have always believed that oppression will end. You say that is a utopia. Who is right? You or me? I was right, I always will be. In the video, Mustache spoke impassionedly, making the audience excited. Originally, the original lines were not like this, but with just a few changes, it became a speech about mutants and humans. At this time, Mystique his face was dark. Chen Ang smiled again and said, is there anything else about the living space for mutants? Social Darwinism. What are the leadership principles? Mystique didn't speak. It seems there is. Chen Ang smiled and said, has Magneto bought the copyright? When did the Mutant Brotherhood change its name to the New Socialist Nation? When will the concentration camps be established? Chen Ang's words were like sharp knives, piercing into Mystique's heart. Mystique clenched her fists subconsciously. Hee. Chen Ang sneered, what's not good about learning? Do you want to learn from losers? Don't look at whether you are worthy or not. What does Magneto want to do? Economy is human, politics is human, culture, science, all human civilization, the most beautiful and advanced things are all created by human beings. Does he want to be a medieval pope in the technological age? Or a 21st century version of the Roman emperor? If the world is one of natural selection, then the ones who should be eliminated should be mutants. For humans, eliminating one or two species that are not suitable for humans is nothing new. Since the birth of Ape erectus, more species have become extinct than ever before, comparable to a mass extinction of species. And mutants, what do they matter? All nature that cannot adapt to human transformation is dead, and there is no shortage of mutants. At this time, Mystique took a few steps back, her face uncertain. Finally, she pretended to be relaxed and said, I'm tired, let's talk about the rest tomorrow. Is it? Chen Ang looked at Mystique and said with a smile, are you sure you don't want to wait any longer? There will be a beautiful laser passing by here later, it would be a shame to miss it. Chen Ang said, already looking into the distance. There was a faint red light. He naturally knew what was going on over there, an old doctor. Professor X and the others specially found this old doctor to use against themselves. And to deal with his own method is Cyclops' laser, plus the collection of all the energy in New York City. When the time comes, the energy can even destroy an asteroid. But, so what? Everything, he can don't care. And at this moment, before Mystique can answer, boom. At this moment, the ground beneath my feet began to crack, and countless nanorobots formed a huge ring. The huge ring shone with electromagnetic brilliance, and all the surrounding metals floated. The powerful magnetic field began to change with the power of the surrounding electrons. The moon money began to flash crazily. Chen Ang stood on the high platform and looked at the powerful energy gathering in the distance. The next second, whoosh, a terrifying beam of light, packed with heat energy comparable to the core of the sun, blasted towards Chen Ang. The terrifying energy even distorted the space. When the laser was seen, it was already too late. This is the speed of light, which is beyond the reach of human beings. The speed of reaction. The speed of light has no solution. But humans are not. Nanorobots stimulate electromagnetic fields, and the transition particles have reached a limit. Nanorobot particles with extremely high reflection efficiency are suspended in the air. Just before the laser beam arrives at this time, the surrounding nanorobots formed an almost colloidal metal soul. Countless tiny nanorobots evaporated, but at the same time, 90% of the laser beam was removed immediately. The laser did not even have time to touch Chen. The tip of Ang's nose was dissolved by the energy field of the nanorobot and the sacrifice of the nanorobot. Mystique looked at all this in horror. She was breathing a little fast. Is it fake? She even began to suspect that she had seen it wrong. But the faint high energy in the air told her that she was right. Everything happened before. The terrifying laser beam was resolved by Chang'an in the blink of an eye. Then, boom, the terrifying laser began to reflect wildly from the countless nanorobots around Chang'an. Wherever the nanorobots came from, they went directly back. Of course, there is still some loss. It is only half of the previous one. But this is it's scary enough. In the distance, the base over there, the upper part of the tower was instantly submerged by the laser torrent, and finally disappeared. The most important thing is that there are countless metal torrents forming the underground drilling vehicle. The underground vehicle began to drill into the ground, and the ground-penetrating warhead crashed onto the ground, penetrating hundreds of meters underground, destroying the geological structure, and causing widespread collapse of the base. Finally, the warhead melted into nanorobots and liquid robots, got into the base. These nanorobots spread rapidly like a tide, using the surrounding materials to form composite tissues. Like a tide of ants, they swallowed up all the materials they saw: plastics, ceramics, rubber. Everything was decomposed at the nanometer level, and the researchers at the base were submerged by the nanometer torrent. In the end, they were thrown out naked and without any hair. The nanorobots, like viruses, swallowed up the whole thing in an instant. Everything in the base. Cyclops' laser turned into energy. Wolverine retreated in embarrassment, and the metal on his body had been torn to pieces. The soldiers next to him only got a little bit of it, and those nanobots got into it. It entered his body, disappeared under his skin, and controlled him. Bioelectricity can control nerves, and nanorobots can completely simulate bioelectricity in their bodies, control spines, and control unit nerves. They can only watch in horror as they do not. He jumped up under control, became a puppet controlled by nanorobots, and began to attack his former companions around him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 239. At this time, as more and more people are being controlled, nanorobots simulate their neural currents inside their bodies and manipulate their bodies. Of course, this is not a terrible thing. It only takes one electromagnetic barrier to restore it to the original state. Can't die. But there is nothing to fear from the obsessed. The scary thing is another kind of pretender. This kind of pretender has more computing power and can even read the memory of the parasite, control the parasite to disguise itself as its original appearance, and blend into them. In the future that Logan knew, many bases were breached because of internal problems. If you want to solve it, the only solution is a strong magnetic field. And Magneto has a strong magnetic field. Boom. At this time, Magneto arrived. He suddenly raised his hand, and the powerful magnetic field swept across all the controlled guys present. Anyone who was scanned felt that their blood was floating uncontrollably, and the iron ions in the blood were wrapped around them. Blood surged into the brain, causing countless people's eyes to turn black. Skynet seems to be nothing more than that. Magneto looked at the researchers who fell on the ground and most of the paralyzed soldiers, and sneered. At this time, as everyone began to help strengthen the computing power, Magneto connected to the spiritual network through the ability granted by X. At this moment, with the spirit of electronic will, the meeting of the prophet, the observation of the eagle eye, and the listening of the left ear, several auxiliary mutants, plus Professor X's spiritual network, countless information began to gather, and finally, it fell to in the computer, calculations started. At this moment, Magneto saw a different world. Countless magnetic lines were suspended around him as if they were real. He just waved a line gently, and a robot in the distance it was pulled over by the magnetic force. He just lightly controlled the magnetic field lines, and the robot was dismantled into 4 or 5 pieces, and then violently dismantled it, turning it into scattered nanoforms. And in the sky, on the Earth, countless densely packed electromagnetic wires are everywhere. The magnetic field is also sensed by him. The powerful geomagnetic force can also be affected by him. He seems to be strengthened, and truly enters the field of electromagnetism. He just swings with a wave of his hand, countless tiny nanorobots around him were swept away and crushed to pieces. Those nano-440-meter robots also wanted to combine into electromagnetic generators, intending to interfere with Magneto's control of electromagnetism. But it was useless. These were useless. He was truly in control. The existence of electromagnetism. Those tiny nanorobots were cleaned up by him before they were assembled. The remaining nanorobots were fused with the electromagnetic generator, and a more delicate, tighter, and more efficient structure began to be reassembled. Skynet and Wanjie Magneto's war on magnetism has begun. Magneto's advantage is too great, and there is Storm. Storm's ability can also be transformed into electromagnetism. Terrifying storms are formed by her, dark clouds begin to gather, hurricanes and lightning it began to spread, and Cyclops, also receiving the old doctor's signal, began to evaporate water molecules, causing water molecules to rub against the air, releasing powerful electrical energy, electromagnetic force, magnetism. At this moment, Storm was like a thunder god, with countless silver the arc fell in the sky. Even Skynet could only withstand it for a moment, and then it lost power under the devastation of this crazy lightning. The storm became bigger and bigger. Magneto controlled the magnetic field, Cyclops created high temperatures, and Storm controlled the storm was coming towards Chang'e little by little. Chang'e stood on the high platform, the strong wind blew the corners of his clothes, but he was still calm. Mystique looked at Chang'e and suddenly said that Storm. Thanks to you, ZF gathered hundreds of meteorological experts and built a storm model. With the help of Charles, she broke through the limits of her abilities and set off more powerful thunderstorms than known to mankind. Such violent energy even surpasses nuclear weapons. Joy. Mystique quickly threw this ridiculous thought out of her mind. How could she be happy? Facing such a terrifying enemy, how could she be happy? At this time, just listen, Chang'e said lightly. What if Storm Jurchen is true? If you can control this power, then the professor's burden will be much lighter. Storm can make the global climate more suitable for human survival. With the means to eliminate climate disasters and change the environment, at least in Africa and the Middle East, the status of mutants will be greatly improved. Agricultural countries will maintain a moderate attitude towards mutants, transform deserts and wilderness, and adjust the global climate balance. This is the contribution mutants can make to the world, and it is also the true path to peace. Chang'e said. That point of view is simply unbelievable. In Chang'e's eyes, this kind of power is just to change the climate, change the environment, benefit mankind, and also feel sincerely happy? Are you crazy? Is this a lunatic? Right? A madman who tried to destroy the world is now saying such compassionate words? A madman who is the enemy of the whole world is still worried about world peace at a critical moment? It's simply. Mystique was dumbfounded. But in fact, this for Chang'e, it was not a crisis at all. The huge storm was gradually approaching, and Chang'e was in the strong wind. Before the sweeping sea water could reach him, it was blocked by a 5-star force. The electromagnetic generator under his feet, it only takes a little movement to distort the air. Then, with a slight movement of his fingers, the lines of gravity spread from the earth to the sky, and the air trembled within dozens of miles. The powerful battery energy spread out from the gravity and disappeared. In the void, between the Earth and the Moon, the huge gravitational tide began to distort, and an invisible point appeared 800,000 meters above Manhattan. The autobiography of the Earth is like a huge driving force, a spring of space, winding up a little bit. Between Chang'an and the storm, a twisted space is absorbing the sea water. What are you doing? Mystique couldn't help but ask. Any substance will be affected by gravity, I just pulled something away, Chang'an said. Before Mystique could ask back, I could see that the funnel-like thing had covered the ground for dozens of miles. Mud and concrete were easily destroyed by this twisted force. Destroyed. A huge hole suddenly opened in the sky, and the storm girl and the huge storm were directly swallowed by the hole. They just disappeared. The storm disappeared so simply and easily. Mystique didn't know how Chang'an did it. It was as if Chang'an had done nothing, and then everything was over. Magneto and Storm were swept to an altitude of 800,000 meters, surrounded by the electromagnetic field was faintly rioting, and with just an introduction, these thunderstorms could be stimulated and tear them into pieces. However, Chang'an naturally did not think of destroying these guys just like that. Instead, with a slight move, these two guys returned to the skies over Manhattan. Because, he finally became interested. It was a rare encounter with a mutant with brains. Magneto, ex-police, Chang'an looked at these two guys, chuckled, waved his hand, and a long ladder fell down. Mystique didn't even look at the ladder, jumped down directly, and stood behind Magneto. Raven, Professor X looked at Mystique standing behind you Magneto, shouted, and then fell silent. Mystique said nothing and did not look at Professor X. However, at this moment, Magneto suddenly reached out his hand and squeezed it gently. Then, the wheelchair Professor X sat on twisted and deformed, restraining him in an instant. Magneto, on the other hand, has long worn a voyeur to prevent psychic snooping. As for Storm, Wolverine just wanted to rush forward, to rescue him, but Magneto's controller lifted Professor X, forcing them to retreat. Eric, you, sigh, Professor X looked at Magneto and sighed. Magneto looked at Professor. The world has become corrupt. As a brand new force, mutants have been discriminated against and oppressed for a long time. Now, it is time to change everything. Only war can gain space for mutants. We just ask for the right to live under this blue sky, but they don't give it, so war is inevitable. There are some things that I don't want to do, but now, I have to do them. Magneto said. And the hearts of Storm and Cyclops sank little by little at this moment. If Magneto cooperated with Apocalypse, then, they no longer dare to imagine what will happen in the future. The only restrained Skynet belongs to Magneto, and Magneto is now going to rebel. Here we go again. Magneto said sternly, we will be the only ones who will not be forced or restrained, discriminated against or harmed. We will build a country of our own. Your request doesn't seem to be too much, so where does humanity fit in your blueprint? Chang'an asked again. Peaceful coexistence. Magneto said, I believe that one day, all humans will become mutants, and I look forward to that day. What you say is tempting, but it's of no use. Chang'an said, and an image appeared in front of him. It was a member of the fraternity. He had monkey-like fur, like a gorilla. He quickly stared at a woman passing by the bar, the corner of her mouth he smiled, jumped up, and ambush, then rushed towards the woman. However, before he could fall down, Chang'an gently moved his fingers, and the power of the 5 elements strangled his neck. Then he pulled tighter and tighter, and then twitched twice and stopped moving. These are the members of the Brotherhood, these are Magneto's men. They only have the idea of dominating mankind, and they will not coexist peacefully with mankind like Magneto wants. Those brothers and sisters of yours, those losers, hang out at the bottom, dreaming of one day becoming the followers of the master of mankind. They use violence to determine their status, and they use their fists to speak. Have they ever gone to school? Or, to put it another way, would you cooperate with a bunch of monkeys? Chen Ang looked at Magneto with some humor. Magneto was silent. I thought I could see a group of SS, but instead, I saw a group of harpies. So, can you put down my allies now? Chen Ang looked at Magneto. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was shocked. Ally? Do you mean the professor? Then, the people present were even more confused to see Magneto slowly put down the professor. Cyclops and Storm hurriedly stepped forward to protect the professor. At this time, Magneto was sweating on his forehead, because it was not him who put down the professor, but Chen Ang, who seized power in his hands and put down the professor. With his own magnetism, he fighting against Chen Ang, who is powered by a large electromagnetic generator, is like hitting an egg against a stone. Let me formally introduce you, the professor is my partner. Let's work together to promote the integration of mutants and humans. Even if we cooperate, I will choose the right partner. The Mutant Academy with complete education is the main force for future integration with humans. Chen Ang said among them, there will be outstanding scientists and social elites in the future who will develop mutant abilities from another aspect. As for your brotherhood, Chen Ang smiled, my laboratory is already vacant, Magneto. At this moment, everyone present was dazzled by this reversal. And countless people in all the worlds were amazed when they saw this scene. Don't these guys know what Chen Ang does? I have no idea what Chen Ang is doing. Indeed, I have no idea what Chen Ang is doing. Magneto's philosophy and Magneto's ideas are simply ridiculous. Tisk, Mystique is also a mole. She didn't tell Magneto at all. No, it's too late to say it. It's not that it's too late to say it, it's because she thinks that as long as Magneto takes action, Chen Ang will cooperate with Magneto. Little does she know that their original concept is wrong. Squeeze, 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 that's all for these guys. Yes, if you want civilization to progress, you don't just have to rule mankind. Chen Ang has been implementing the path of evolution. Whether it is his own evolution or the evolution of everyone, it is the direction he pays attention to. However, the direction of his evolution is not to rule, but to pursue the truth. The evolution of others is just that. Just control the power and control others. Magneto's initial starting point was wrong. If he had the idea to let humans evolve, he might not do this. At this time, countless people were discussing. In the picture, as Chen Ang controlled the fighter plane, the muzzle was pointed downwards, and the firepower almost directly covered. There was no enemy present at all. Under Chen Ang's casual control, and even huge steel robots appeared, spreading around. They shouted for peace, and mercilessly slashed at Magneto with the knives in their hands. Of course, the X-Men and the other allies, they didn't receive any special treatment, at most they were given a little bit of treatment, but their essence remained the same. They were like defeated dogs, posing no threat to Chen Ang at all. This world was completely ruined by Chen Ang. Taking stock of the top 10 golden fingers, the protagonist of Wanjie went crazy. Author, Chirp. Chapter 240. At this time, countless people looked at what was happening on the screen, and everyone laughed. Tisk tisk, it's all in vain that Magneto still controls magnetism, but in the end, it's at this level? Is it as simple as just squeezing the iron and controlling it? As everyone knows, everything has magnetism. As a result, this Magneto's performance is really crotch-pulling. After all, electromagnetic force is also one of the 4 basic forces in the universe. But in the hands of Magneto, this is what happened. This Magneto is simply not worthy of being the master of magnetism. It is also one of the 4 basic powers. Chen Ang can do it in seconds, but this Magneto? That won't work. Well, the biggest difference between Magneto and Chen Ang is reading. Phew, this made me laugh so hard. Is studying okay? However, it is true that as long as you read more points, what this electromagnetic force can do is not as simple as controlling iron. Gee, I feel like Cheng-Ang, Magneto can also rub a black hole with his hands when his control is at its peak. I laughed so hard. Is this Magneto? Is this magnetic control? Tisk, it's just a stretch. Read more books. You can also be like Cheng-Ang. Read more, cowhide. At this time, countless people were discussing. At this moment, it can be seen that the picture of the Grand Avenue Gold List began to change. After Cheng-Ang left the ex-police world, he went to a magical world, where he studied arcane arts. He also went to the Marvel Universe, the Legend of Double Dragons of the Tang Dynasty, and even the Shushan Swordsman world. He becomes stronger step by step and improves himself step by step. In the end, he could even be called a true strong man. Finally, Cheng-Ang appeared in the new world. And this world. Watching chess and playing chess, cutting wood, walking slowly at the mouth of the valley beside the clouds. Selling firewood and selling wine, laughing wildly to express your love. The green path is high in autumn, and the moon is pillowing the pine roots. A song came from the distant mountain road. At first glance, it was a woodcutter. This was not a world he came to on his own initiative, but a world he was exiled to passively. As soon as he heard this chant, Cheng-Ang understood it instantly. Immediately, he saw a monkey. He talked to the woodcutter for a while, and was finally disappointed. At this moment, the monkey saw Cheng-Ang. At that time, Cheng-Ang was dressed as a Taoist priest, as erratic as an immortal. The monkey looked happy, his eyes brightened, he hurried forward, bowed his head and said, old immortal, disciples start. You Hosen, why do you call everyone a god when you meet them? Cheng-Ang looked at the monkey with some humor. Do you think I didn't hear you when you asked the woodcutter down there? The monkey licked his face and was not annoyed. The scholar bowed to each other and said quickly, old god, since you heard it, let me explain it. I am a disciple from the country of Donghai Ala who came to practice Taoism. I heard the woodcutter brother just now said that this is linked Yanfankan mountain. There is a Bodhi patriarch in the mountain, an old immortal who has accomplished spiritual practice. I will learn from the old immortal. The ability to never grow old. East China Sea proudly comes to the country. Monkey. Lingtai Fankan Mountain. At this moment, countless people in the world looked at this scene, and their eyelids twitched. Why does this monkey look so familiar? Lingtai Fankan Mountain? Apprentice monkey? From the proud country of the East China Sea? I suddenly thought of a monkey. Don't think about it, this is obviously that guy. Worry, Monkey King, the Monkey King? This time, Cheng-Ang actually met this monkey? I don't know how Cheng-Ang is going to squander this world. Good guy, he was just exiled, and ended up encountering a high-end world again. Journey to the West? In the legend, a high-end world similar to the prehistoric world. That's it? Unexpectedly, Cheng-Ang would meet Sun Wukong again. Are you planning to cut Sun Wukong into slices for study? Laughing to death, although what you said is very consistent with Chen Lao Mo's character, Chen Lao Mo will definitely not slice up Sun Wukong, and maybe he will accept Sun Wukong as his disciple. Haha, accept Sun Wukong as your disciple? What's good? Yes? What's good? If you only measure Cheng-Ang by his benefits, then you are totally wrong. Cheng-Ang, I will never tell you what is good or not. At this time, countless people in the world were discussing, watching everything that happened in the picture, and they were all amazed. The legend of Sun Wukong is famous in the world. Few people don't understand it. The legendary Qi, the great sage Sun Wukong, whose legendary experience is also an existence that countless people yearn for. Now, I actually saw someone traveling to the world of Journey to the West and met Sun Wukong who had not yet grown up. At this time, as Sun Wukong spoke to Chen Ang, he asked. Obviously, this monkey regarded Chen Ang as the old immortal Bodhi patriarch of Lingtai Fankan Mountain. In response to this, Chen Ang shook his head directly and said, I am not the Bodhi patriarch, but I have also heard of his name. There is a cave in the mountain, called Xiaoyu Sangxing Cave. I have never liked this name because it is related to a cult thousands of miles away in the west. Therefore, I have not had much interaction with him. I just heard that the disciples he sat down with were teaching invitations. Immortal Fuelyuan is capable of divination and hexagrams, picking up yin and replenishing yang, and harmonizing the human body. At this time, following Chen Ang's words, countless people in the world burst into laughter. Good guy, are the cults thousands of miles away in the west okay? Isn't this talking about Buddhism? Tisk, others are just scolding them secretly. After scolding, the result was that Chen Ang was so good that he directly labeled Buddhism as a cult. Also, this Lingtai Fankan Mountain. Tisk. Chen Ang simply got all the bonuses and hacked these guys. Just when everyone was laughing, they could see that in the picture, Chen Ang looked at the monkey and said with a smile, how can such fake practice enter the true door? Could it be that you, a monkey, are also willing to learn from others to collect yin and replenish yang? I once heard that there are some lecherous apes and monkeys who often have monsters that prey on women. Some are called Shenchangong, and some are called playful Saburo. The brave male monkeys also call themselves the great sage Tongtian, the great sage equaling heaven, and the mother. The monkey calls herself Old Mother Lishan. What, you want to imitate them? At this moment, the monkey was dumbfounded. Not only the monkey was dumbfounded, but also all the worlds, listening to Chen Ang's words, the corners of their mouths twitched crazily. Good guy. This old demon Chen is becoming more and more careless in his actions. What the hell, it's so dark. The courageous male monkey calls himself the great sage Tongtian? The great sage Kishan? The female monkey calls herself the old mother of Lishan? Countless people's eyes went dark. They saw an unparalleled evil nature in Chen Ang. They didn't know what Chen Ang was going to do, but just saying this didn't sound serious. People said it. And now Sun Wukong is still an unenlightened monkey. He naturally believes what others say. And what he faces is Chen Ang, a big liar. At this moment, countless people can already imagine, what will this monkey become in the future? Countless people's mouth corners twitched, their eyelids jumped wildly, and they continued to look at the Dao Golden List. But what they saw in the picture was that the monkey was dumbfounded for a while after listening to Chen Ang's words, and then, he hurriedly said, I don't dare, my disciple is a serious practitioner and I don't dare to have such messy thoughts. Upon hearing this, Chen Ang couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly and asked with a smile, then what do you want to learn? When he heard this, the monkey only felt that it was funny, and he bowed his head and said quickly, my disciple is originally a stone monkey in the mountains. He plays around all day long, gathers flowers and fruits, and is carefree. But as time goes by, he sees that there are some monkeys. The old monkey died because of his lifespan, and then he realized that there is a great terror between life and death, so he started to seek immortality and came here from a country all the way, just for the sake of immortality, and asked the old god for some advice. The art of immortality. Chen Ang felt a little emotional and said, the best ones eat fruits, the middle ones are officials, and the lowest ones go to seek the Tao. You come here, you are seeking fish from trees, you are seeking fish from trees. Chen Ang said in confusion. Not to mention the monkeys who didn't understand, even the countless people in the universe didn't understand. They know that what Chen Ang said is that the monkey is looking in the wrong direction, but what the hell is this? The best eats fruit, the middle is an official, and the lowest is seeking the Tao. The monkey seemed to understand, so he hurriedly asked, teacher, please explain. What does this fruit mean, being an official, or seeking the Tao? Why are there 3, 6, or 9 grades? Chen Ang laughed and said, go west. There is a Wuzhuang temple in Wanqiao mountain, and there is a Taoist master named Zhen Yuanzi. There is a ginseng fruit tree planted in his family. If a person has the chance to smell the fruit, he can live to be 360 years old. If he eats it, one can live 47,000 years. And above the 9 heavens, where the Queen Mother Yaupond is, there are 3,600 flat peach trees. The front one has 1,200 peach trees, which ripen once every 3,000 years. If you eat them, you will become an immortal. There are 1,200 trees in the middle, and they will ripen once every 6,000 years. If you eat them, you will fly up to the sky and become immortal. There are 1,200 trees at the end, and they will ripen every 9,000 years. If you eat them, you will live as long as the sky and the sun and the moon. These are all fruits written to be of the highest quality. In the world, there are also Zhiren, Zhima, Ganoderma lucidum, and Nashaowu ginseng. They are all good things that can prolong life and make you become immortal if you eat them. The monkey's eyes lit up after hearing this. He was so fascinated. Hearing that there were such good things in the world, he couldn't help asking, teacher, teach me how to eat those flat peaches. If you want to eat, eat well. Eat the 9,000-year-old flat peach that has the same longevity as the heaven and the earth, and the same brightness as the sun and the moon. That is the real freedom. It's just that. This is it. Chen Ang hesitated and said, ordinary people can't eat it? You have to wait until the heavenly court banquet, when the Jade Emperor and Queen Mother invites the real immortals from 9 heavens and 10 earths to hold a grand peach festival, then you can eat it. And it's not something ordinary people can eat. What you eat can only be eaten by the gods, so I say that if you are a mid-level official, after you log into the immortal book, you will not only be able to fly to the sky and become immortal, but you can also participate in the peach feast. If you are lucky enough to eat a fruit, you should also learn how to eat it. What kind of ability? You can live as long as heaven in an instant. After saying this, the monkey went numb, and he said, in a daze only gods can eat flat peaches? But aren't all gods already immortal? If I want to eat flat peaches, I have to become immortal, but if I become an immortal, why should I eat flat peaches? Those immortals are immortal one by one, they eat flat peaches, oh, teacher, you have confused me. Hearing this, Chen Ang was a little confused. He said funnily, what's so confusing about this? It's just like a mortal. If you want to be an official, you must first be recommended by an official. If an official recommends him, he can find an official himself. The trouble is that you people have nothing to do with officials. People. Gods don't need to eat flat peaches, they need to eat flat peaches, and he can't eat them. The monkey's face changed again and again, and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. Then, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore and cursed out directly, what a bastard god. All of them are immortal, why are they trying to snatch peaches from us? Teacher, I want to know, where is Wuzhuang temple going? What are you doing there? But want to ask for a ginseng fruit to eat. Chen Ang looked at the monkey and smiled. The monkey nodded directly and said, not bad. I can't go to the Yaokai above the 9 heavens, but according to the Wuzhuang view, if the Zhenyuan immortal is a kind person, I will ask him for a fruit and come here. If he is like those gods, I will steal it. When one comes back, if I can steal 2, I can give you half of it. You don't even know how powerful immortal Zhenyuan is, and you still want to steal their fruits. Chen Ang looked at the monkey in a funny way. So, let me tell you how to become an official. Chen Ang spoke again, not to mention the 3 disasters and the 9 disasters. The heaven and the earth are coming to kill you. If you want to be an official in the Lingshan mountain of heaven, there will be countless disasters. A smaller official will suffer 800 calamities, and a larger official will suffer 800 calamities. Yes, there are tens of millions of kalpas. If you want to be the Jade Emperor, you will have to endure countless kalpas. You will be chopped with swords and axes, thundered and burned. It will be as difficult as climbing to the sky. This time, the monkey was frightened. He was very frightened and subconsciously asked, did all the gods in the heaven achieve this? After such hard work, why are there so many gods? No. Chen Ang said with a smile, it is indeed difficult to become an immortal. Under such suffering, how many serious immortals are there? Of course, it's buying and selling an official position, flattering others, being supported by relatives and friends, or being admired by a deity, who will help you to become a deity. Also, there are good people in the human world. After turning to heaven and human realm, they become golden boys and girls in heaven and are swept away by heavenly soldiers. If you are lucky enough to serve a good master, oh, gods, if someone reaches out to give you a hand, you can become a god. Of course, you can also murder and set fire, become a demon yourself, train demon soldiers, form a stronghold to patrol the mountains, gather in the mountains and forests, and then wait for the gods in the sky to come and give you orders. In order to calm the situation, they give you an official as big as a sesame seed, and you will become an immortal and a Buddha, and become an official and a general. After saying this, the monkey who spoke was dumbfounded. Countless people in the world were dumbfounded after listening to Chen Ang's words. Good guy, this old devil Chen has started to cheat again. However, old Mo Chen seems to be right? Those who need flat peaches can't eat them, but those who don't need flat peaches can eat them, This is actually normal. The spiritual root is in the hands of others, and they can do whatever they want. It's a pity that this kind of thing is really difficult to say. Bringing private goods. Chen Laomo is bringing in private goods. Although there is no word about Sun Wukong, I feel that every sentence is related to Sun Wukong. I laughed so hard. Looking at the monkey's reaction, I can already imagine what the monkey will do in the future. You know shit. Laughing to death, fast forward to the time when the monkeys are causing havoc in the heavenly palace and dividing the spiritual root world equally.